Greg Sirico, Odyssey Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, New York transplant. What's life like moving down from New York, opening up a jiu-jitsu school, trying to build something from scratch, ground up?
Building anything from scratch is really hard. Moving from New York is an interesting experience altogether.
Learn how to drive.
Learn how to do a lot of things. I would say probably the most difficult part was kind of getting used to the fact that everything's so spread out down here, where in New York everything's kind of congested together. You could go on a block and get anything you want. Down here you have to get in your car, go to the store, get whatever, go to a different store to get something else. So you spend a lot of time in your car, which I'm not kind of used to. I'm used to spending time in a train, which is a whole different world. Kind of nice in some sense because you get to not pay attention to the road or whatever, and you get to, make notes on things, listen to music, talk to your friends, goof off, like kind of what we're doing. If we're on a train, so to speak. But you can't do that in your car. Although some people do, that's probably a lot of accents.
I was about to say, and that's why people, die on I-20 all the time.
Yeah, basically, right. So I think coming from New York, the hardest thing was getting used to things being so spread out. That was a difficult adjustment. Obviously, driving down here is an adjustment. I think the other adjustment too was that everything was slower down here. That was the biggest adjustment for me.
Don't have the buzz of New York?
The speed.
Okay.
Of just everything. Like, I think when I first got down here, I went to like a Publix to go get like cold cuts to make a sandwich. Yeah. And I think I think the lady took like 15 minutes to get our cold cuts together.
Yeah.
Like that would never happen in New York. That you would, in like 15 minutes, you're dealing with, you're probably banging out like 30 customers easy instead of like 2 or 3.
What do you think that does to people that are living in that? How do you think that the speed of living like affected you personally, or affected Danielle, or affected,
living there?
Yeah.
Stressful. Low, poor quality of life, being honest.
Poor quality of life?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you live in New York, you live fast, you die young, I think, in that mentality. I think it does a lot to you. When I moved down here, I started getting a lot healthier. Appreciation for people, appreciation for nature, that slower pace of life, being able to have a conversation with somebody and not feel like I'm being threatened all the time. It's kind of nice.
Being threatened?
Well, just in general, like New York is an aggressive place.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying? People bump each other on the subway and it's like a fight starts, or someone says something and it's like, what's going on with that? Okay. You don't see that as much down here.
Interesting.
I don't anyways. For the most part.
Do you think there's pros to that? Like on the other side of the coin, like you get all the anxiety because of all the hustle and bustle. What do you think the upside of that is? Do you think there's upside to that?
Makes you resilient.
Okay.
If you deal with something enough, I think that builds character, builds some resiliency. I think you get used to it, but man, I don't think that's good long term, man. I just think it's like I think living in New York is like being in a really bad relationship.
Okay.
You learn a lot from it, but it's not something you want to do for a long time.
I've never heard that put that way. That's interesting.
But that's just how I look at it.
If someone came to you and they're like, hey, look, I want to go live in New York for, I want to experience New York. How long do you think the optimum time to live in New York
12 months.
Is? 1 year and then get out?
Yeah, get the fuck out.
Interesting. Do you think is that like borough dependent? Or do you think that's just like overall?
It's just dependent. Okay. Look, I was born and raised in New York, and you couldn't pay me to move back there.
Okay.
It's not because I don't love it. I actually love a lot about the classical New York, which is so different than what it is now. It's not the New York I grew up in. It's not the New York I grew up in, or the New York that Brandon grew up in, or any of our friends that have come down here that are natural New Yorkers, like native New Yorkers, like Jay, who's moved down here, or my friend Gomez, who visits. Like, we're native New Yorkers. We've seen it go from like a fun shit show to basically like the wealthy playground.
When did you first notice that switch?
Juliana area.
It started.
Yeah, Rudy kind of changed a lot. Giuliani changed a little bit. That started to be a trend. I think with de Blasio, that really elevated a lot. There was a lot of gentrification that happened. And it's fucking terrible.
What do you think? Do you know much about obviously you know a decent bit about like the rent control situation. I was watching something that was talking about how there's like 100,000 vacant apartments in New York because of like the ass backwards rent control laws that they've passed. What do you know about that? I mean, like, did you nothing?
No, if I had a rent control apartment, things would be a lot different.
Okay.
I think people who have a rent control apartment have a little bit. They have a disconnect to real New York. Or if you're living with someone, or if you're living with your family in New York, or you're in a rent controlled apartment, you're not living in real New York. You're living in a fake New York, in my opinion. Because you're not. Well, because you're so disconnected. It's like it's similar to if you go somewhere and you live with someone and they pay everything for you, and your experience of life is way different. You're not having to struggle to pay rent. You're not having to struggle to like, where's my money coming from? Your money is like playground money. You're not in the same ballpark as the other person who's working a normal job and paying a mortgage or paying a rent and paying car bills. You're not there.
Yeah.
So it's different. All right, let's take this for example. Say you have somebody who is in a rent control apartment in New York and they're paying, I don't know, $800. Nothing. I'm just saying, like, that's bananas cheap. So let's say you were paying $800 a month, and you know that in your area those one bedrooms are going for like $2,900.
Yeah.
So that person who lives next door to you has to do. I mean, he has a high paying job. He's doing a lot of things to make that happen. I mean, for you, it's easy. You can coast. Matter of fact, you could probably get a nice job if you wanted to. Your rent is so damn cheap. You get to party in New York. You get to afford to have a nice life. People, your cost of living overall, when you look at your expense for the month or even for the year, if a good portion of it goes towards your rent or your mortgage, well, then where's the rest of your money going? Then you're not able to go out and do jiu-jitsu. You're not able to go out and have dinner with your wife, or you're not able to go on a vacation. You're not able to, afford medical insurance, or actually go to a doctor, or take care of yourself. There's a lot of layers to it, So people who live cheaply, they have a disconnect that a lot of other people in that area don't have. So it's a good thing for them, but man, they're just living in a fake New York, or a fake whatever that is. You're not living the way other people are. You're disconnected. Is that bad or good? I don't know. I mean,
the same guy that was talking, I think, a lot about the rent controlled stuff, he was saying that he basically went in and he got like free market, whatever the designation is, went through, found out that the place was actually supposed to be rent controlled. The landlord had like illegally flipped it, went through, sued the guy, got it back on rent control. And he was sitting there talking. He was like, I will never, ever let this apartment go. I think he was paying something like $1,200 or $1,300 a month for an apartment in Lower Manhattan. And he was like, I'll never let this go.
Why would you?
Yeah. I'm like, that to me sounds badass, because then you're locked in a fantastic spot. But I can imagine if you make, $90,000 a year in New York. That's not livable for most people.
No, $90,000 in New York, you're poor.
Yeah. But if you're paying $800 a month for an apartment, now all of a sudden the calculus changes. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's the equation has to work out to what you're making per month and where is your expense going. So don't ever look at the money. That's why a lot of people, I have a lot of friends that, I'm going to move to New York. I'm going to have a great life. And I say, okay. And like, I just got a job offer. It's $125,000. I'm like, that's great. It's awesome. And then they get there, and then 6 months later, after talking to them, like, how's it going? They're like, I'm struggling. I'm like, yeah, no shit, I told you that.
Making $125,000.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're paying like what, $3,200 per month for your mortgage. Well, your rent. Sorry, there's no mortgage in New York unless you're that wealthy. But your rent is like $3,000 or whatever. Then you got your utilities. Then you got all the expenses of New York, right? You're not paying I don't know, $3 or $4 for a cup of coffee. You're paying $7, $8, $9. Like those little things add up. The glamour of a big city gets to a lot of people because we all get glamorized. It's like the same thing as social media. We always get mesmerized by the little clips on the TV, but we don't really dig into the weeds of like what it's like to live there.
When we were up there at Marcelo's, I remember looking at like Zillow, Realtor, whatever, and wherever we were staying, I think we were staying like 36th or something.
Yep.
Like right across the street, there was a studio for sale. That was like a 550, 600 square foot studio for like $850,000. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And
that's before the pandemic, dude.
Yeah. It was after.
Was it?
Yeah,
you're right.
Because we were there like right after everything opened up, because it was weird. We were walking down around NYU.
Right. Yeah,
like Marcelo's had just reopened.
But it was not that long after the pandemic. It was right around the pandemic timeline.
It was July of 2021, I think.
Right, exactly.
It was right after New York had opened back up.
That's right. But yeah, think about that, right? So, you've got an apartment that's, what's it, 600 square feet?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like not
The
even
size of this little.
yeah, basically it's like $1 million. I know someone that bought a place not that long ago. I think it was like 700 something square feet. Pays like 1.1 million. I'm just like, that's insane. Now it's a nice place to build, but still, that 1.1 million is crazy.
And two, I would imagine the condo fees up there are preposterous in
Oh
comparison to
yeah,
here.
yeah, dude. Me and my wife almost, before we moved to Atlanta, we actually almost moved to New Jersey, and we looked at a place that was, I needed a lot of work, but it was a 2-bed, if I remember correctly, it was a 2-bed, 2-bath co-op.
Okay.
And I think, no, sorry, condo actually. It wasn't a co-op. It was a condo. And for your friends, they probably don't know the difference, but New York is there's a difference in co-op and condo. It was a 2-bed, 2-bath condo. And I remember us looking at the numbers. I was like, oh, this is okay. And then we looked at taxes because it was in, I think it was in South Orange, New Jersey. You can go Google the taxes there later about Orange, New Jersey, South Orange, and all that area. But like my taxes would have been like 20-something thousand a year. Yeah, exactly.
Jesus Christ.
So all these little things play into the equation of what your life is like. So depends on where you want to live.
What's the jiu-jitsu culture? Like, what's the difference that you've noticed between, you didn't start off at Marcelo's. I forget where you said you started off.
No, I didn't start off with Marcelo. I started off with a Henzo black belt. His name is Brian Glick.
Okay.
I started off with him, trained with him for a number of years. Started working in Manhattan. So it became kind of difficult to come back to Brooklyn to actually train. And I was like, I might as well find a place in the city. And at that time, this step back, there's actually a place I trained in between Marcelo's and that. I always went to Shaolin's for, I think, 6 months. And so the reason why I went there is because a lot of my friends were going there. So I was like, it makes sense. You go where your friends are going, right? And I think after 6 months, it just wasn't the right fit for me. And I was like, I want to go somewhere else. And this is after I had a bad knee injury. I had surgery after that. So I started thinking, well, okay, what do I want to do after this? Did I like being a challenge? Did I not like it? And it just wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. And I think that my wife, who's smarter than I am, doesn't do any jiu-jitsu, but seriously smarter than I am. She says, well, all you do on YouTube is watch this Marcelo guy. Doesn't he have an academy here in the city? I was like, yeah, he does. She's like, well, why are you trying to learn butterfly guard and X guard like when you can learn from him? I was like, that makes sense. So that's why I went there. Then first day I actually went to his academy. This is even before I even started training. And so went in, just watched the class. I didn't even want to train. I just wanted to see what the environment was like. And talked to him a little bit, let him know about, where I've come from, where I am, where I'm at in my life, and stuff like that. And then I told him, I was like, I'm a purple belt, but I was like, I had a knee injury and I was like, I had a lot of time off. And I think I might have been pushed too fast. Like I don't feel at that level right now. Mm-hmm. And he turned around to me and says, it's my job to make you one. It's okay. I was like, that's cool. That gave me a lot of confidence in that. And then, but what really sold me on being there more than anything wasn't even the level of the room. It was the fact that I left the academy that night and I get on the train and we get on the same exact train. I see two in the same car, but a couple of benches down from us. I see Paul, Marcelo, and Hike, who, if you don't know who he is, Google him. He's one of the teachers there. He actually owns the Alliance, runs the Alliance London gym now. Okay. So Enrique, Marcelo, Paul, I think Jimmy was there too. And Marcelo waves over to me and just remember my name right away. Say, hey, Greg, why don't you come out and have dinner with us? And at the time, I was dating my wife, and she kind of cooked for me that night too. So I didn't do that. But the idea was like the fact that you even remembered my name and you invited me out to dinner, knowing me all of 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Of a conversation. You remember my name, you know who I was, you recognized me, you met me at dinner. Just kind of showed kind of the person he was, I guess, that he's kind of invested in people. Mm-hmm. Even if it's at a very small social level. He didn't know me all that well. We didn't break bread together. We didn't do anything deep. It was just that he has that warm personality to him. So that said a lot to me. And I remember that every single day.
You said the culture at the school that you were at in between Brian Glick's and Marcelo's, like the culture fit wasn't right. Is that something that you think, what do you think was the giveaway, or what were the giveaways where you're like, yeah, I don't know if this is the spot for me? Obviously Marcelo's, it was like, you have the guy who is an ADCC champion, the owner of the academy, sitting there and is still like, oh yeah, even though I just met you, making that invite. What are some of the things that you got from the academy prior to that where you were like, yeah, I'm just not really sure if this is the fit?
Well, I think the level of jiu-jitsu was great. I mean, Vitor Shaolin's world class. I mean, I don't think it's the jiu-jitsu itself. I don't know how to put my finger on it. I think culture is, well, let's define culture for a second, right? Culture is essentially the behaviors you're going to allow. What behaviors you're going to allow and what behaviors you're going to disallow or remove. And I think for me, one of the things that kind of got to me was when I got hurt there, I kind of didn't hear from him for like several months.
Okay.
Vitor Shaolin, I didn't hear from him. And I think that kind of put me in a certain mood. I was like, okay, like it's fine that like I'm not one of your top guys. I get that. I'm not even gonna pretend to be. But I'm still a student. You could literally just email me, dude.
Hey, how are you doing?
Pretty much, right? It doesn't take much. So I think it's a cultural thing.
What's something that you've noticed, or what are the differences you noticed training from? How many people train at Marcelo's when you were there, like roughly?
You mean on the mat?
Not in the class, but I'm just saying, like, how many students do you think were like passing through in a day?
Oh man, hundreds.
Okay,
hundreds. Like the evening class on a solid day was probably like 110 people.
Okay,
and that's before. I mean, you saw the mat expansion, or not? Were you there with the mat expansion? No, right?
Where they had the second mat off.
Yeah,
the side. Yeah.
Okay, so perfect. So you saw the bigger gym. Like imagine that in half. Yeah, and there was like 100-something people on that mat. Matter of fact, I'll even do you one better. Is that when we were at his previous place before that one, which is even smaller, there was still 100-something. There was like 90-something people or 100 people on the mat. He always had packed mats, man. Which is why we had to learn how to train safe within a small space. Like a lot of things he did, I thought were super smart. Where maybe we'll do it one day. Our mats are getting kind of packed actually. So, where we do like groups of 3. It's like like me, you, and somebody else, and we'll rotate in a group of 3. And the person who's sitting out, their job is to monitor the space around, so no one gets crashed into, or no one falls on somebody. So no dumb injuries that can be prevented. So,
how far into training at Marcelo's? Like, at what progression of your belt did you start thinking, okay, yeah, eventually I want to open my own school?
When I got a brown belt.
Okay.
I think that's when I started thinking about that a little bit more seriously. At blue and purple, I just started playing around with the idea in my head of not necessarily opening a school, but just teaching. It wasn't even so much opening a school. That kind of game came over time, but teaching for sure. What made me happier than me executing something was understanding what's going on and being able to articulate that to somebody else and watching them execute that. That actually brought me more joy than my own self. That's how I knew I wanted to be a teacher one day. Because it wasn't like if I did something, that's cool. But being able to tell someone what to do and watching them do it gave me a lot more joy.
Okay.
And I think that's a true path of a teacher. If you care more about the people your students than you do yourself, that is the mark of a teacher. There has to be at some point where it's more about them than you and your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, where you step back and you're like, okay, cool. Now this is my time to like,
or even just have more interest, not interest, but what brings you more passion and joy is seeing the people below you grow really, really fast and see them execute and learn and grow. Like that is a mark of a teacher. If your students are getting better, but it doesn't please you, well, then have you really hit your what's it called? Your calling, I guess. Right? I mean, that's a big part of this. If you're teaching I think if you're a teacher, if you're a jiu-jitsu teacher or a jiu-jitsu instructor, and you're doing this just to make money, that's fine. I don't judge. I mean, if you know me, I don't judge too many people. That's fine. That's okay. But I think a good path to enlightenment is if you truly enjoy it. Think to yourself that if I wasn't getting a paycheck out of this, am I still enjoying watching people do well in jiu-jitsu? Yes. That means you're on the right path.
For your particular teaching style and like the way that you wound up where you are, who were like the 3 or 4 most influential jiu-jitsu? I mean, whether they were people that you were just learning from watching their technique or people that you learned from taking their classes, who were your most 4 most influential people within jiu-jitsu?
Paul was one.
Paul Schreiner?
Yeah, 100%. I always say that myself, he was the, and I mean this in the most complimentary way, but he's like the poor man's like John Danaher.
Okay.
Meaning like he's one of those guys that nobody knew about. Like people eventually knew who John was because, GSP blew up and then the Downer Death Squad blew up. But like Paul was one of those guys at Marcelo's that was just super technical, studied a ton, was always up on the modern game, was always trying to elevate the technique, was always thinking much more deeper about the technique than a lot of people, and trying to really like every time he saw something cool, he's like, show that to me again. I'll give you an example. Is when he came down to teach there, one of the seminars he did with us, Campbell was showing him some Ashi entries it was reverse daily Hiva stuff, and it's some leg entanglement stuff. And Paul's now just he's really getting deep into that, and he was just very fascinated by Campbell's entries. And like I watched from the sidelines, maybe about 10 minutes before the seminar started. Paul was learning from Campbell. He's like, "Oh, that's interesting. Try that on me. Let me see how it feels. Oh, that's interesting. Why'd you do that? What was that grip about?" And even after the seminar, he's asking Campbell questions.
Yeah.
What does that say?
That's that veers a lot from a lot of the traditionally negative side of jiu-jitsu, where it's like, I am the black belt. You will look up to me and respect me. And he's sitting there like, oh yeah, you are a blue belt. I don't really care, but you're really good at this. Okay, show me. Just the natural curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that the mark of true intelligence is admitting you don't know everything.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. To say you know something is kind of ignorant. It's like, do you really? What level do you know it? I don't know.
I forget the name of it, but there's like a graph that a buddy of mine, Jamie, always mentions. And it's basically the people that know the very least are always the most confident, because they know, they scratch the surface and it's like, yep, that's dusted. Now I know everything. And then the irony is that the more competent, the more excellent, the more mastery you achieve, the less confident you are in all of it, because you start to realize, okay, well, yeah, but there's also all these other exceptions to the rule. And well, when you go down this path, that opens up this, and this, and you're so much more reluctant to give like definitive yes, no answers. Meanwhile, someone that knows very little is just like, yep, I know it. I know everything.
Yeah. I mean, you take my class plenty of times. How many times do you guys ask me a question? I say it depends.
Yeah. So
it depends.
A lot.
Yeah. Someone ask me a question.
Hell of a lot.
Hey, so when I want to do this, or they'll say, hey, I'll give you an example. They'll put themselves in a position, like let's say an armbar from top position, like they spun to it from like the mount.
Yeah.
And they'll be in a spider web armbar position. And then they ask me, they say, okay, well, how do I separate these arms? They'll ask me that general question. I says, well, how long do you have?
Yeah.
Because there's a ton of ways to take apart those arms. Yeah. Are their hands clasped together with an S grip? Is it a gable grip? Are they figure fouring their hands? What are they doing? Are they grabbing their own collar? I mean,
and every single one of those is a different way that you have to go down the...
Correct. Yeah. So it depends. Every time someone asks me a question, I say, it depends, because there's so many variables to play with. Are there some general principles and mechanics that apply? Yes. But when you start getting into the nuances, like when you really dive into it, like in my opinion, when people say, what is advanced jiu-jitsu? What is expert or advanced jiu-jitsu? It's not some new technique. I mean, the techniques you learn at white belt, pretty much the ones you're going to do for the most part at black belt. Same bit, like I would say 75 to 80% of the stuff you do at white and blue, if you have a good program, the stuff you learn at white and blue, you will do at brown and black, and you'll do beyond that. What changes, here's the key, what changes is the intricacies. How are they set up? What are the defenses? How do I resurface to this position again? Mm-hmm. What are the nuanced grips they're using? What are the, you know what I mean? How this sequence, it played out in a different way where I couldn't get what I want. How do I get back to it? So you know how to do the knee cut. You know how to do the arm bar. It's like, well, how do I expose it or see it again? Rather than try to learn a whole new fancy arm bar. It's like some people send me these techniques on Instagram, and I fucking cringe. I really do. It's like, oh, like this wild thing. And I'm just like, yeah, but I mean, like, what are the chances you're going to hit that rando shit? Like some no-gi, like, I don't know, like baseball bat choke or something. I'm like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, no, man. And I mean that in the way of, can you hit that against a casual blue belt or maybe like an okay...
Me.
I'm being honest, like, right, yeah. But like, are you going to do that against, I don't know, Joseph Chen? Probably not.
Yeah.
He's not going to let that happen. He's just not. He might fuck around, and if you watch the B team rolls, I'm sure he probably fucks around a lot of shit with some of the casual guys. But when he goes against his really top, athletes or his good guys, he's trying to execute the things that really are clean for him, or experiment with new positions and new situations. But he's not trying to do, for the most part, an outrageous thing. And usually the way it works in jiu-jitsu is, this is how, like, at the end of the day, like the mats tell everything, right? So, because you will go into a situation, just like, I'm going to try something, and you're going to experiment with it, and you're going to see whether you have something there. And the way things become, like tested at the black belt level, or like what we call like, top tier techniques, however you want to, whatever jargon you want to use.
Framing.
Yeah. Is really because it's like, can I consistently do this? And I see all these layers of defense, and it's still something here. Then you got something. And the more times you battle test that in the room, and then in a competitive match, you get to see the nuance of it and how you can really funnel that, right? Like, a good example would probably be something like, the Berimbolo from like, so who popularized the Berimbolo? Hoffa Mendes. He probably popularized it. Were people doing it before that? I think so. I think there's some, I do think there's some historical context of people doing it beforehand, but before him, nobody really did it. But then he started doing it, and you see like, the Meows do it, and Gianni Grippo, and a bunch of other guys, like, you played it for quite a while. And even today, people still use it. Well, not as much, but people still use it. So now you think to yourself like, okay, how did that come out? Well, people, they tried it. He tried it in competitive matches. It became a thing. You can even argue, Drown Meow with his Barado Plata, right? That at first people were like, that's a funky technique. Is that going to work?
Yeah.
Played around with it, and now I think he's got literally an entire highlight reel at IBJJF tournaments of him doing Barado Platas from various positions. So you go, checks out. Data checks out, works. Now it just becomes situational, and that's when John's system, the way he kind of looks at a lot of things, I think and then speaking of influences, he's probably one of the other ones I look at a lot is John.
Yeah.
And it's because the way he looked at it is, I want to digest all this information, everything, and I want to boil it down to a few things. And there's a reason for that. It's because I don't have time on my side. If all I did was train jiu-jitsu 24 hours a day, I didn't have to pay bills, I didn't have to go to school, I didn't have to, take care of kids or wife or whatever. Yeah, I can go down tons of rabbit holes and have all these different systems and nuances, and I can separate my gi and no gi technique. I can do a lot of things, but it's like, hey, what is the constraint here? Time. Okay, well, how do I maximize time? I do that by funneling myself to the things that we see work all the time. Because I know that if it works against like, guys like really high level guys, it works against Andre Galvão's of the world. It works against, you get what I'm saying? Like, it works against that caliber, high level, like world class, top tier athlete. Yeah, then it works against a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It'll work against your casual guy. It has to.
If you can execute against someone that's 180 cc, I think you can execute
Pretty
against
much, right?
anyone
Yeah,
else.
exactly. Yeah. Like if you ask me, hey, what techniques in jiu-jitsu work, professor? I would say, okay, let's look at any of Gordon's matches, and okay, who do you fight? Who's his last fight for? I mean, in ADCC, Gordon, Andre Galvão.
Yeah,
probably in my opinion, one of the top 10 jiu-jitsu players of all time, hands down, not even close. He's a top 10 player. His accolades are ridiculous. Also a really nice guy, by the way. But think about that. So if you're able to execute, you're able to take his back. What are you trying to do? Choke him out with a rear naked choke. That's literally what you're trying to do. That's something you learn at white and blue belt level.
Yeah, you learn how to finish a rear naked choke by day two.
Like, look at the arc of this, right? You're like, your first 2 years of jiu-jitsu, you're probably going to learn a rear naked choke from the back. You don't learn how to strangle somebody from the back. Agreed?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're going to do that at the highest level with the best caliber guy.
Yeah.
Everything in between is fucking smoke and mirrors.
Just noise.
Exactly. Everything else is kind of irrelevant. Not relevant, but like I shouldn't say irrelevant, because irrelevant is a wrong word. It depends on contextual what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. It's relevant if you want to know all the fun, you want to know everything, but not everyone does. So that's why, like, when people ask me like, hey, professor, or like, how do I get good in jiu-jitsu? And well, it depends. Like, are you trying to get competitively good?
Yeah.
That's a whole different way to train. It's a way different program you would develop for yourself. I would teach you different tactics and skills and training modules that will make you a better athlete than somebody who is just going to just learn some techniques and have fun in the gym and be pretty good.
Yeah.
Those are two different. Can you dual path those? You absolutely can. But not everyone wants to. And that's why you have to differentiate.
Interesting. What bring it back to the influences.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Schreiner, John Danaher. Number 3, if you had to pick one.
Ryan Hall.
Ryan Hall, why?
Dude's an absolute wizard, genius-wise. I mean, I'll put it to you this way. So, I learned how to do a proper triangle just by buying his DVD. Before then, I was a mess with it. But watching his triangle DVD unlocked so many things for me.
Okay.
Why the angle was important. Why underhooking the leg and being perpendicular was very important. Not just for in my head, not just for like being able to put somebody out, but literally from a self-defense tactic. Like you can't pick me up off the mat. I'm like, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, you can't rampage slam
Yeah,
someone.
I can't pick you up and slam you on the mat. If I underhook your leg, it's gonna be very difficult for you to move me.
I mean, there was a bunch of people that were commenting on one of Brady's videos where Brady choked that dude out with a triangle, and everyone was like, "Why didn't you just pick him up and slam him?" And it's like, well, it's kind of hard to when you have 150 pounds that's
right.
perpendicular to your spine.
That's right. Try deadlifting something, right? Like so. Don't do this, but think about this. Like,
unless you want to, pull an oblique or something.
Yeah, I mean, no. Well, I mean, you're gonna back surgery if you do what I'm gonna tell you to. But don't do this. Go find a barbell, put 100 pounds on one side, and put 5 on the other.
Yeah.
Or not, to make it even easier, actually, you can. Don't do this, but like, point is you would get like a 25-pound plate on one side, or do like 2 or 3, and then put 1 on the other side. So it would be even in terms of like it's not awkward to pick up.
Gotcha.
And just grab it for a second and just live for a quick second. Like, why is this weird? It's going to feel like you're going to fall or you're going to hurt yourself because the weight isn't evenly distributed. I mean, you watch, high-level lifters. I mean, they'll tell you the difference in 5 pounds on one side or the other.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. It's because it's proper balance of the weight, and it lets you move it through a good motion. Mm-hmm. So imagine now if you had 150 something pounds on one side and like nothing on the other, you're going to fall. You're going to fall. Like there's no, mechanically, you're not made to pick weight up like that. So it just makes sense to underhook the leg, underhook the arm, stay perpendicular. You stay safe from a self-defense point of view. You get a better angle to strangle and put the guy out. And you can always sweep them and come on top.
You ever been choked unconscious?
Yes.
What it feel like?
Weird.
I thought it was peaceful.
It's weird. It's weird. Paul once did this thing to me. He was demonstrating it. I forgot. I don't know if he was demonstrating because he was showing me. I forget exactly why, but the cross-face pressure he does, where he takes it. The one Brandon shows, right?
Yeah.
So he take the middle finger, put it in the
fuck you
armpit.
grip,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you put the shoulder into the neck.
Yeah.
Like not into the jaw, but into the neck itself, and you get that lateral drive pressure.
It's like a Force Von Flute choke almost.
Pretty much, right? So he did that, and he was like talking about it, and I was like dizzy as fuck. Mm-hmm. And then I saw that someone sent me a video of Valerie Worthington. I'm pretty sure. Go Google her. Okay. She did the same thing to Ryan Hall once. She was demonstrating this. There's an older video, and I saw Ryan Hall snoring afterwards.
Yeah.
And then you see like my buddy Seth Pickett, like, yo, that shit worked. It was funny as hell, but like, yeah, it's weird.
When I got choked out, it was the most oddly peaceful thing ever.
Really?
Griff did from a back triangle while we were drilling.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I just woke up I was looking up and I was like, what happened? And Brandon was staring down at me. He was like, you got choked the fuck out. And I was like, God. Oh, good morning.
Speaking of Griff, man, that's that guy.
Damn it, Griff. Yeah. So what you start thinking, you're a brown belt and you're like, okay, shit, maybe I want to open my own jiu-jitsu school. Do you start doing research then? Like, okay, like what does this process look like? Or was it just kind of like, okay, yeah, you started entertaining it more so? What was the timeline? Because you were a brown belt for a minute. Like, what was the timeline between getting the brown belt, moving to Atlanta, and then opening the school?
Oh, wow. That's a lot of stuff there. Because that's several years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Several years, a lot of injuries, a lot of fucking personal shit too. So got my brown belt, and then I think was at a brown for a minute, and then I started thinking about leaving New York before even opening the academy. Okay. So that was the start of this. Me and my wife, we were, I wouldn't say struggling because that's the wrong word, because we had good jobs. We worked really hard, and we had, at the time, pretty good rent, to be honest with you. Like we actually, I mean, but that's how we saved money to move down here. That's how I was able to get a house.
Whatever works.
Yeah, I had a nice. So my landlord was pretty cool. He kept the same rent for me for 10 years. Never changed it once. Yeah, never changed it once because he liked me. I was a good tenant. I kept the place clean.
Pay on time. Right. Don't cause problems.
That's right. Yeah. So you guys who are staying in any houses that I know, keep it clean. Just saying.
Don't be a prick. Be a good tenant.
Yeah, just keep it clean.
Tip your landlord.
All I ask is, you want to be a good tenant somewhere, keep the place clean.
Yeah.
It's so easy. Don't make noise, keep it clean. And you will live like a king for a long time.
Assuming the landlord's not a prick.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know. But anyways, that's another story. So we knew that it'd be very hard to kind of continue to live in New York. And the other part of it was, I was born in the city. She spent many years in the city, and it became a drain on me after a while. I wanted more of a suburb life, to be honest with you.
To see trees.
Yeah, I wanted to see anything but Showtime. I mean, I don't know if your audience gets that, but like the Showtime on the train is just, it's a thing. It's literally like the guys will come on the train and then they just start dancing out of nowhere and playing music, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there trying to do my homework, and I'm like, my brain hurts.
Like, please stop.
Pretty much. Or like, like the homeless guy like pissing right in front of me and just barely missing my notebook. So just, I mean, that's what we asked that question before about, like, what are the experiences? It desensitizes you a lot to a lot of shit.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It makes you it makes you cynical. It makes you desensitized. It actually makes you like a bitter person.
Okay.
I think. Because there's so much craziness that goes on in New York that it transforms you into not really an asshole, because I don't think an asshole is the right word.
Okay.
But I think it transforms you into someone that has seen some shit.
Do you think it kind of removes a little bit of your empathy or sympathy or either one of those as well?
Yes.
Just because you're like, yeah, you and everyone else, I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's not cool.
Yeah, not a great attribute to adopt.
No, I think it dehumanizes you, actually.
I can 100% see that. Me and Mike Green were talking about that. I was up there. Me and him wound up in New York at the same time. We were like just like walking around the city at one point, and I was like, "There's just a perpetual hum to this city," and it's like you're walking past a few hundred people a minute. It's just like, who gives a shit? It's just another, like, it very quickly seems like you're just one of this sea of 20 some odd million people, and it's like, whatever could happen to you. And at the end of the day, no one would really care. Like, you could drop on the sidewalk and someone would probably just be like, damn, that sucks, and just walk over. You're like, damn, I got work. I don't really have time to call 911.
Yeah. You see a homeless person back up, get it together, and step right over. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's crazy. But that's, New York is an interesting place. It's, like I said, it's transformed. When I was younger, you had teachers and policemen and firemen that, were able to have a home. They were able to have a life. They were able to do things. Not so much in 2024. I don't know how they live. They probably have 8 roommates. I don't know. I mean, it's got to be really difficult. I don't know. I don't know how. Not in the city, anyways. So it's the landscape of that city has changed a bunch. Where you seeing it. There's many layers to it. Part of it is political. Part of it is, the gentrification of the city. And then so you're starting to see the people who, the true middle class of New York that existed, that you see in movies and stuff from the 80s and 90s, those are gone.
Just a barbell. You got people that have, people that don't, very, very thin strip in the middle.
I mean, you're kind of seeing the same thing happen in Atlanta.
I think you're seeing it happen all over the country.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other political tangent. But
Yeah,
I don't know if you can deny the fact that, like, the middle class of America is not nearly as strong or resilient as it used to be, and I don't think you can deny the political causation of that.
And honestly, COVID changed a lot too. I mean, what did COVID do? I said, here's an interesting thing. I said to my wife, man, this is a really good point. Before COVID, I swear to God, dude. Before COVID, I told my wife, I says, there will become a time where working remotely will be a thing. And she's like, you're crazy. People have to be in the office. I was like, no, they don't. I was like, look at all the work because I worked at the time I worked at BuzzFeed, and then after that I worked for Universal McCann. And then when I worked for both of those companies, I did a lot of work remotely. I would work sometimes from my house, or I'd work, even remotely in the building. Like I would be like on the rooftop, or like whatever. Like I wasn't like next to my guy. Because everything was done digitally. We video chatted. I sent you documents digitally. Basically, the only time I needed to be near you was like if I had to physically present something to you. And over time, that got put into technology.
Yeah.
So I remember saying to my wife, this was like in 2000, maybe 17 or 16. I told her, I says, there will come a time where working remotely is the future. She's like, you're crazy. That's not going to happen.
There's a book called The Sovereign Individual that I read, and it was written, I think, in like the mid 90s, late 90s, and it back then was like the rise of the internet, and this is like early days of the internet, is like it is going to shape the way that we live, work, and transact in a way that people cannot fathom. And in the late 90s, they were talking about computer coins that were going to enable people to say, well, wait a second, if I'm transacting online, why do I need to live in this particular tax jurisdiction if they're going to come at me in this way when I can, to your point, handle all this stuff remotely and I can go live in
wherever,
whatever tax haven, assuming that there's some sort of lineup in terms of the hours. And it even took it one step further, which I think will be really interesting. And it was talking about medical care. It's like eventually with, now where we're at with 5G, I don't know if it's there. I'm not that smart. A lot of the surgeries that people have are arthroscopic. The surgeon's not sitting there cutting you open. The surgeon's operating a machine.
Correct. The machine is more
what
precise.
Happens when the surgeon doesn't need to be in the same room as the machine?
That's going to get dangerous, though.
I'm not arguing that point.
I'm not there.
I'm not arguing that point. But that, to me, I see a world where that happens. You eventually have some surgeon.
You got a surgeon sitting on the beach robbing on someone's brain.
But here's the thing: is that now if you're the elite of the elite in terms of surgeons, it's like if you're one. I think that's an interesting case for people that are wanting good medical care, because if you're stuck in the middle of South Dakota and you want world-class medical care and you're in an emergency,
where are you going to get it?
Where are you going to get it? Yeah. As opposed to assuming all the technology gets there, you have a setup where you go to like a surgery center and some dude that's in Singapore that's like number 15 in the world at this particular type of gunshot trauma surgery is like, oh, don't worry, I'll sign on and handle this whole thing remotely. Again, that's way down the road. This has gotten completely siditracked from opening a jiu-jitsu school.
Yeah, we are Alex Jonesing this thing.
This is now that brings me to my next point.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when are we going to talk about reptilians? Oh God,
that's for episode 2.
Yeah.
So you start figuring out like, hey, look, me and Danielle, we want to leave the city. We want to get down to Atlanta. You got to Atlanta and you started training somewhere else before you opened everything up. What's the process like of trying to get ready to open a jiu-jitsu school? Because I would imagine that the jiu-jitsu business model is, I don't want to say it's completely different, but there's a good amount of difference between opening a jiu-jitsu school and a restaurant.
Yes and no. There's a lot of similarities, actually.
A lot of similarities, but I mean, you were talking to me about this one time in regards to I think it was the people side of it, the people that are going to be your customers. What was the process like of getting ready to open it, I guess?
So getting ready to open this business, I thought to myself, if I'm going to do this, I have to make sure that I have a good team. And that started with a good business partner, which is my current business partner, Dan.
Yeah.
To make sure I had somebody on my side who I can lean on, because I mean, yes, I've worked in corporate business my whole life. I've worked, I guess you can call it, like the corporate job, the corporate lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, right? And in a white collar professional job, right? Working in all these agencies and working within finance, right? So okay, yeah, I mean, I have that experience, but that's way different than owning a business and self operating something. They're two different things.
And bootstrapping it,
pretty much, right? So there's a lot of things that have to go on with that. And honestly, Dan Ye has actually taught me a lot over the last 5 years. I mean, I think he's probably taught me more than conventional college education has, to be honest with you.
If you had to go back and say like, okay, if I was like, hey, look, you're opening a jiu-jitsu school 6 months from now, what advice would you give to like the 6 months to get ready for it and then the immediate like year afterwards? Like, what do you wish you would have done?
So today you say, I want to start a business. 6 months from now,
a jiu-jitsu school.
Right. I want to start a jiu-jitsu school today. I know today I want to do it, and in 6 months I want to open it.
Yeah, okay, it's February, so say by August 1st you want to have a jiu-jitsu academy open.
Okay.
And you could go back and like retroactively give yourself advice.
Oh man, what advice would I give? First of all, I would think to myself that the one thing I did do was start small, so I would give that as a positive advice. I think that did help. Starting small, meaning like you want to rent within a smaller space or have limited classes. I think that's important, not overstretch yourself that wise. Instead of saying, hey, I'm gonna have a robust program off the bat, I'm gonna have a big ass facility, I'm gonna have 100 classes, and that's capital and time, and those are both really hard resources for most people to have, so it doesn't work. Start small, I think, and I did that, and I think to that is why we are successful, because I didn't just go bananas off the wall. I put some money into it, but it wasn't like, you know what I mean? I didn't have a 4,000 square foot facility off the rip. I didn't have 100 classes. I basically had like one class a day. That was it for like 5 days. I think we even did less. I think it was like 4. I think we had like Monday through Thursday, and I think we had a Friday open mat or something. I don't know. It was very small.
Yeah.
But it's just to to build the brand, I guess, right? So I think that was a good piece of advice. I think where I kind of made some errors is that when you start to invest in a business or you're getting into a business with people, I'll just leave it at that, that you have to understand it's a marriage.
Yeah.
For the most part. Who are you marrying? Know everything about them. It's not just, can this person provide money for you? I think a lot of people, when they start a new business, they think, oh my God, this guy's got $100,000 he can give me to start up my business. Yay, I'm ready to go. You got to think very deeply about that $100,000 and what comes along with that. Who is the person you're being attached to? Is it someone that you connect with on a core ethos level? Is it somebody that has the same vision as you? Is it somebody that you can work with, that you can trust? Somebody that, for the most part, has good work ethic.
Yeah.
For the most part, somebody who doesn't mind going down the grind with you. There's a lot of things, and also when you have that business partner, what are the expectations for that? If you say I'm gonna get a business partner and I'm gonna take $100,000 from him, I'm gonna give him half the business, and all he's gonna do is sit home and screw off. And let's just say, hypothetically, just a cash investor, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people get excited about that. I'll give half my business for $100,000, and you don't realize, like 10 years down the road, you guys should have never done that. It's just, so things like that I think are really, really cautious, where I've made some mistakes where I had to course correct over time.
Okay.
Where I had certain, the partnership early on is not the partnership it is today. And I definitely learned that the hard way. It wasn't negative, like I don't like these people. It's just more of a business strategic point of view. It's like, I want to make sure the people that I'm in business with we're aligned in terms of vision. We're aligned ethically. We're aligned from an ethos.
Yeah.
And I understand everything about them. Like I said, it is a marriage. So if you get in business with someone, like you're a business partner, and you know that business partner has a chaotic marriage, well, what do you think's going to happen? That chaotic marriage will influence your business.
Probably going to spill over.
Correct. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people early on, when they have the rainbow eyes and the fun vision, they don't see that part of it. That is a thing where I kind of messed up a little bit early on, and I had to course correct that.
What in terms of like what were the key differences you noticed in terms of the first 6 months to a year? Because I mean, Odyssey's been open now since 2019, so you're 5 years in.
Yeah.
What was the biggest thing that you had to shift? Because like there's a phrase that I've really liked. It's called, everything that you've done to get to where you are will keep you from getting where you're going.
Okay.
It's like, if you put, if you grow your company from, 0 to, $500,000 a month, whatever, just by, cold calling 24/7, you're not going to be able to just keep cold calling 24/7 and go from 500 to 2 million. Like, there's going to have to be like an adjustment. Like, are there any particular stages of Odyssey's growth where you remember thinking like, okay, I need to, go in a drastically different area, or like what were the big adjustments, the big thresholds that you hit where you're like, okay, we've got to do something different so we can keep this going?
I think that's very contextual. There's a lot of things that can adjust the shape of your business.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of it has to be, what are like technically, right? Like, where are we? Okay. If I feel like, like at this point right now, we've got, I mean, half the room is upper belt or blue, good, I'd say middle blue and better. And then the other half are just white belts. Whereas early on, it was like 80% white belt and a sprinkle of color belts.
Yeah.
Right. So, but now we're kind of in a more 50-50 split. So I have to think now from a programming development point of view, like, how do I get those blue belts to be even better? And how do I continue to groom the white belts better? So, early on, I was very hands-on with all of this. And that kind of changes, right? So we're at a growth part of the business where now the people that I'm grooming, the people who are helping me in class and teaching with me, how do I help them get better teaching skills so they can actually bring those white belts up? Or in the flip side, maybe help me be able to push the upper belts better too, so that I can start looking more from a kind of program director, rather than just like trying to teach every single class, every single technique to every single person. There's it's hard to do that. It's hard to scale that part, right? You can't scale that. It's so like for example, like John Danaher is a good example. He's not trying to build a program. He's just trying to build really good guys.
Yeah.
He's not trying to build a program. I'm trying to build a program. So there's difference in there. I'm still about trying to build really good guys, but I'm trying to build a program along with that, right? Yeah. So those are two kind of, they're not really opposing things, but they're in the same vein, but they do require different energies. Yeah. So I have to think to myself, okay, how do I do both? So I have to put my energy into certain things and take away energy into certain things. But that doesn't mean I remove completely from it. It's that I put someone in place, or I put a process or a system in place for that part that makes sense, that I agree with, that I can monitor, that I can be okay with. Because if I, excuse me, if I have to be hands-on with everything, doing that at 200 plus members is very, very difficult.
No
Yeah,
chance.
it's really hard. It's almost impossible, to be honest with you. Or I shouldn't say it's impossible. It's impossible to do it well.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I don't like doing things fucking half-assed. I just think that's terrible. I don't like that. That bothers me. I'd rather burn my business down than do something half-assed.
Yeah. Give a mediocre product to
Yeah,
bunch of people.
I don't like that. I like knowing that people that come into our building are being taught good jiu-jitsu, that the culture there is good. People are genuinely care about you, that it's a good facility. It's a good amount of classes, good technical instruction, good students, good culture, good vibes. Like, there's a lot of good things about it, and I don't want that to change.
What do you think? I mean, because I remember when it was very much a lot of white belts and very little upper belts. If someone's like a brand new white belt, they know basically nothing about jiu-jitsu. They like watching MMA, or they listen to Joe Rogan, or whatever their like onboarding ramp into jiu-jitsu is. What do you think a way that like someone that has no combat sports knowledge can go in and analyze, okay, is this the right academy for me?
That's a good one. What are their goals? You always start with what's
It's contextual.
Right? Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
People hate asking me questions because they want me to be. I'm not a black and white A and B guy.
Yeah,
I mean, I am in theory, right? Like, I do think that, like, at the end of the day, there's just it's either a win or a loss. That is true. But in order to get to that W, eventually you have to go through the gray and understand contextually what that means.
So say, they're not trying to be Gordon Ryan. They're not trying to be world beater,
Totally.
But they want to go through, they want to be a good jiu-jitsu practitioner. They want to compete, every now and then. They want to be competitive in their competitions, not get steamrolled.
Correct. Which is like 80% of the jiu-jitsu population.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 80%, I'd say 80% of the jiu-jitsu population do it because it's fun, it's different, and they want to develop a skill.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, they want to defend themselves, learn a skill, have fun, feel good about themselves, get a community. That's what they want.
From that lens, from that framework, how would a white belt?
You have to really dig into these places. So you have to, first thing you do is you identify the academies or gyms near you. Make a laundry list of them. Check them all out. Look at them on Instagram. Look at their Google reviews. Look at them on YouTube. Meet them. Reach out to them. Not just a random phone call either, because sometimes a phone call doesn't do the complete package.
Yeah.
Go into the facility. If you truly want to go in there, observe the room, see how everyone's being treated. How you treat at your front desk.
Mm-hmm.
Is someone welcoming you and saying, "Hey, how's it going? Can I help you out?" Or is it, "Yeah, it's in the back. Yeah, sign it." Okay, yeah. And then you see that person kind of, like a secretary is just like, can't wait to check out.
Yeah.
That's different, right? So it starts there. And then see how the instructor treats you. Is he truly caring about your technical performance, where he's actually being active on you?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big thing for me, because if you truly want to, like, if you're trying to learn this skill and you're like, yeah, you're right, I don't want to be Gordon Ryan, but I also don't want to go somewhere and feel like I'm not really learning anything. Well, then you're going to want to be a room that is actually much more technical focused than anything else. Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that really matters.
Yeah.
If they're teaching you and they're just, here's a good mark. If a teacher shows you something and you go to do it and it's wrong and they tell you that's great and they just move on, and they don't ever tell you it's to make improvements on what you're doing, then they're truly not in your best interest. It's how I feel.
It's like a false sense of confidence almost.
Correct. Yeah. It's exactly what it is.
It's all those like those Detroit SWAT videos or whatever on YouTube, where it's like you sit there and you watch these people like execute techniques, and to your point earlier about the online stuff, and you sit there and lo and behold, you're in a situation where you need to know how to like actually defend yourself, and you go to execute a technique, and then you find out that technique doesn't work when a dude has a knife, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. How would you feel if you went to college and took a course and the professor just said, "Oh, all these answers are right," and you were trying to be a doctor? All these answers are right, and then you went to go operate on someone and you fucking killed the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, you want the person who is trying to actually improve your skill, whether that's a jiu-jitsu armbar or whether that's literally how to play the piano.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a difference, right? That's a skill you're developing. I mean, they are different, but you get what I'm saying, right? You want the person who is helping you with that being critical on you. If they're not critical, then do they really care?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, I know we live in a world where like, you know, you always want, yes, sir. And things are great. And it's like, this can always be better, man. You know, and I will never apologize for telling my students that it can be better, because I like it when someone tells me this could be better. I'm like, okay, you're right. It can be better. It can be better. If you just want someone to just say, oh, it's no big deal, then I think that's a deeper question, actually more than jiu-jitsu. Then you have to analyze yourself about how you're looking at like developing any skill in life, whether it's jiu-jitsu or not, right? If you're like, if you're not critical on that, then what about your boss when you go for an evaluation? Let's say you do your year-end evaluation, and he turns around to you and he says to you, you know, you did these things. He has a laundry list of stuff. He's like, these 12 things you did amazing. These 2 things we got to work on. And if you flip out over those 2 things, there's something deeper going on.
Yeah, you've got some sort of ego problem down there.
There's something going on, right? It's not just that. But let's take that same, you know, I call it philosophical attitude, and put that into jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
You're going to go somewhere and you're going to learn an armbar, and you're doing all these mechanics right, but then there's a few tweaks you can get better, and you're pissed that someone's trying to correct that. Well, then you don't have the right mindset to actually improve something.
Yeah, you're not trying to learn. You're just trying to check the box in a sense.
That's right. And I think that's where a lot of people screw up, is that that's also why there's a high quit rate in jiu-jitsu, in my opinion. Because people think this is like an Amazon package. You're just going to you're going to show up, I'm going to show you this thing, and you're going to walk away and like, I'm a champion now. It's like, that's not true on anything in life. I don't care about it. Jiu-jitsu is like just one example of that. Someone's like, I want to be really good at, I don't know. I want to be really good at making lasagna. I'm just using an example.
Whatever, yeah.
Right. It doesn't make it what I'm just using this example. I want to be really good at cooking something. I want to be really good at like making pasta. Or let's say making pasta from scratch.
Yeah.
You know how hard that is? Really hard.
You can fuck up at so many different intervals.
Exactly,
yeah.
right? And here's the thing. Like, you go to a restaurant, you know if it's bad, you're going to be like, yeah, this wasn't good. Mm-hmm. But you did it, right? So so there's a little bit of that where you have to prep your brain, and jiu-jitsu is just one vehicle of this. This is why I would say jiu-jitsu is the catalyst for your human potential, because how you do jiu-jitsu is how you're going to do a lot of things in life. And if you're somebody that just wants to check a bunch of boxes and walk home and be like, I'm okay, you're going to be that in everything you do. You should expect excellence in everything you do, whether that is, it's one of the reasons why I am I know people get on me about, I don't really care, why I'm an AOJ fanboy a little bit. Okay. Because of the attitude that Gianhofer have of excellence is everything you do. I fuck with that very hard. That is a great model for life. Mm-hmm. You don't, sometimes it's not about, truly being perfect, but it's the drive to constantly be better. It's just, there is no peak. It doesn't exist. I always want to be excellent. I always want to be better. There's no I've got it on anything you do, right? It's just like, you know, I mean, people are working on everything in life on themselves. They're working on yourselves. You're working on your job. You work on your marriage. You work on your jiu-jitsu. You're working on how you raise your kids, right? Like, no one has it perfect. We're not God. We don't, we're not immortal or you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I know we're getting deep down that philosophical.
I was about to say that goes down a rabbit hole, like a whole other rabbit hole.
But it is. But like, there's also a lot of connectivity there, right? Because how you look at that is how you're going to look at anything in life.
It's all interwoven.
Yes, how you do something is how you do everything.
I 100% agree. Yeah. So, trying to bring it back to the jiu-jitsu.
Yes,
it's fine. Who gives a shit? Yeah. Bring it back to the things to be on the lookout for if you're a new jiu-jitsu student. One, obviously, you want to make sure that everyone there is, they seem happy that you're there and they're not just looking at you like, oh, look, another Czech just walked through the door. Two, high level of technical proficiency in a room. Yes. The professor's walking around and like, hey, look, that armbar, you need to be doing this, this, and this differently in order so that you can, execute this. Hey, that's a triangle. Don't squeeze their head and pull their head down, cut an angle, like that kind of thing. Yeah. What other things you think they need to be on the lookout for?
I think you need to be lookout for, here's a good cue for you. How many women are in the room?
Okay.
That's a good cue. That's a cultural cue.
Cultural cue.
Yes, it is. If women are comfortable there, it's a good place. If women are like, I don't want to be here, might want to check why.
Do you think that there's something that goes on inside of jiu-jitsu where, there's a better way to ask this question. Hmm? What is it about jiu-jitsu, or do you think there seems to be, I don't want to call it an epidemic, that seems like an overstatement, but there seems to be a decent number of schools where there are women that are not comfortable training in jiu-jitsu academies?
I think there's plenty of reasons why.
What do you think? Yeah, like what do you think lends itself about jiu-jitsu, what leads to that? I don't know the best way to ask this question. Do you know what I'm getting at?
I know we're dancing around the question a little bit. I know what you're trying to say. Like, what makes women uncomfortable training in certain places?
Yeah.
Think,
that's a better question.
Yeah, no, I get you. I think that there's a lot of pieces to that, but I think a lot of it comes down to that. I mean, look at the reason why women are trying to do jiu-jitsu. Let's think about that. Let's take a step back and try to, let's talk to them. Actually, let's ask a woman about why did you start jiu-jitsu. And you're going to get various different layers of answers, but a lot of it is like, I want to feel safe. I want to feel empowered. Okay. Well, then if your room makes them feel unsafe and unempowered, well, then you've lost. You've lost everything you're trying to do because you're missing why they're trying to do this. Eventually, are they going to get good and they're going to get really technical and great training partners? Of course. But like you have to know your audience and why they're coming in. They're coming in because they want to learn something cool. They want to feel empowered. They want to feel strong. They want to feel like they've got a good community behind them. I mean, these are the answers I've received from other women like that I either train with or I know. Like, what do you like about our academy? They love the community. They love the fact there are other women there.
Mm-hmm.
They love the fact that the men aren't douchebags to them. That they actually try. That when they train with them, they're not trying to smash them all the time. Like, just beat the crap out of them. They're actually just like, our guys. I mean, you could speak for this. Like, our high level guys, even the guys who are like huge, if they train with the women, they're so controlled and so technical, and they're not trying to prove anything because the girl's 120 pounds. Yeah, they're just like, I'm just gonna, you know what I'm saying?
Just use the fact that I have 100 pounds on them to like make a point, like I'm Mr. Macho.
So
whatever.
a girl will go to a gym, and then she'll train with someone, and she'll train with a 200-pound white belt, and he'll just barrel into her, like just because I want to win today, and it's just like, yeah. Do you think she's gonna want to stick around?
Probably not.
Bingo. So to take that a step back, then look at the women if they're there. If you see a room with a lot of women, that's a good sign. That means that like there's a good community there. That's a strong indicator. When you go to a place and you're like, if there's no women on the mat, leave. Just
a bunch of dudes.
I think so. I would. If I had a daughter and she wanted to go train jiu-jitsu, one of the things I would tell her, I'd say, I want you to go somewhere. I want you to observe the room, and I want you to see how they train with the people that are weaker than them. See how they train with them. Then see if there are women on the mat, because you're going to be that partner. You're going to be that little girl in the room that is undersized and outmuscled. You're that person. So you have to know what you're getting into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that you need to ask yourself that question, and I think that's an indicator of culture. Once I said before, what is culture? Culture is the behaviors you allow, or the behavior you're trying to, push, or the ones you're trying to,
Yeah, what you're encouraging, what you're, disincentivizing, what you're saying, hey, this shit can't fly here.
That's right. So if you've got a place that women like being there, that means organically you're pushing the right buttons where they want to be there, and you're listening to them. Like at our academy too, like, look, I don't mind if the guys walk around shirtless. I really don't. I personally don't care. But I've had one or two women that tell me, hey, I'm not that comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And there's reasons why. I can't say why, but there are reasons. And I'm not going to judge them on it. I hear you. I see you. Let's make that happen. Let's make it more comfortable for you. So I just say, hey, change in the room. Don't change on the mat. Don't take your shirt off. Take it off inside where they can't see you. That's okay. Don't do it over there, And you're wearing your gi top on and you're hot. Don't take your gi top off. Just go. If you're that hot, dude, go outside.
Yeah.
I mean, there's better ways of doing things. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that like the women dictate a lot of the culture to me. If you have a place with, a lot of women on the mat, that means it's a place that's safe. That means it's a place that cares. That's a place that's good culture to me. So those are good check marks. So, people treating you well off the rip and caring about your technique. That's one part of it. Being able to see other women on the mat and how they're treated is really, really important. Those are all good indicators to me.
Okay.
Another good indicator is if you try a class somewhere and they partner you up with somebody who's experienced. That's a good sign. If they just say, hey, just jump in. It's like, yeah. Well, it depends, right? Are you, and this also depends, right? Are you someone, you'll have someone that comes in and be like, I want to try the class. I'm like, okay, hey, what kind of experience do you have? They're like, I've been training jiu-jitsu for a year. I'm like, just jump the class. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with that. Like you've done this for 12 months where I feel comfortable you just picking your own partner, right? So that there's that part of it. But if you're brand new, I don't know, I don't know an arm bar from like anything else.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Zero knowledge.
Nothing. Well, then I want to be able to put you with the right partner. So I think that you go to an academy or you go to a gym and you say, do they partner you up? Or is there either an intro lesson or do they partner you up with someone? I don't know anything. Hey, you know, work with Tony today. You know, he'll help you out. Because it's not you're not going to learn anything on your first day. If you think you're going in there to learn jiu-jitsu on your first day, I got a news for you. That's not what it is. You're coming into our academy on day one, and what you're learning is that this is cool. And we're a good place. And if you truly want to learn what you're seeing and what you're feeling, this is the place for you. And you have to package that into that sale. And that happens on the room. It doesn't happen with me in the back. It happens on that mat. Yeah. That mat is where you get sold on jiu-jitsu. How you get treated.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that you want to make sure that you're doing this right. So the reason why Odyssey is successful is not because I'm some fucking genius or anything. It's because I've been to a lot of places and I traveled a lot in jiu-jitsu too. And I've been to places and I'm like, I didn't like the way I was treated here. I liked the way I was treated here. That was good. That was bad. And I just started developing my own cultural habits of what I wanted. And I try to push that into Odyssey in some ways.
Build like a worldview of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Well, a worldview specific to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
What do you think leads to such the wash rate in jiu-jitsu? I mean, there's like stats all over the place in terms of like whatever.
Oh
like
man, there's
the percentages of people that drop out. But
I think there's a lot of layers to it. I think most people quit because it's hard.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest thing. And I can't change that part to it. That's the unfortunate thing I cannot change. I can't turn around and say, this is like, like I had one student once that on his first day, he says, when do I get my blue belt? I just told him, I was like, when you're ready for it. He's like, what does that mean? Like, what's my timeline? Like, and I'm not going to give it to you because you've been here for 6 months.
Not a punch card class.
No, I can't do that. I got to see technical proficiency. You don't have to be, Eldon or Sam or DK. I'm not asking you to, but I'm asking you to display good technique and to understand what you're doing. You could be 50 years old and you might get beat by these bigger guys, by the younger guys. I'm okay with that. But are you understanding what you should be doing? I should be framing here. I should be bringing my knee inside. I should be knee levering him. I should be going back to close guard. When I'm in close guard, I should be looking for vertical upward posture. I should be looking to open the guard. I should be looking to laterally move and create a pocket of space. What reactions am I getting? What are my defenses like at a white belt? Am I learning how to escape the mount? Escape, get out of close guard. Escape side control. Escape, a north-south pin, get out of knee on belly, get out of back control, learning how to defend from the chokes, learning how to defend from arm bars and triangles, omoplatas, and footlocks. Well, then all of a sudden you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that the quit rate is high simply because people don't want to do something and they're terrible at it. People like false, not false, but they like feeling good. And I understand that too, but like there's a difference of feeling good with like, I call it like false positives.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like a false positive would be, that was great today, and like just move on, right? Yeah. Instead of saying, no, this can be better.
A false positive is not correcting the shitty armbar, is not correcting the shitty mount escape.
Yeah. Do you see how a lot of this is connected too? So people don't like hearing that like, oh, this was wrong, and oh, I'm not very good at the moment. And
looking in the mirror and be like, damn, I'm really bad at this sport.
Yeah. Dude, I've been doing 15 years. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for over 15 years. You know what I've kind of realized? I just suck a little bit less than I did when I did it 15 years ago. That's it. I just suck a little bit less. I'm not like, you know what I'm saying? And and that's okay to bake that into your head. It's because your mental mindset is just being so in love with the technique and the progress and the goal of getting better that you're not worried about a belt rank. You're not worried about a stripe. You're not worried about you got these world-class blue and purple belts that are crushing everyone. You're not on that path, and that's okay. Like I wasn't either. That's fine. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't, you know what I mean? It's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. You're at your own journey. It's kind of why I made the word Odyssey for jiu-jitsu. It's like, it's your own path. It has nothing to do with that guy or that guy. You're on your own path. And Dallas's path is different than Greg's, and Greg's is different than DK's, and DK's different than Amon, and so forth and so on. So like, we can't pretend like we're all on the same boat together. We're not. We're all on different boats. We're all on different timelines, like a Marvel universe. Yeah. We're going in different areas. You know what I mean?
I've got a question following up off that. So what do you think the earliest, I read, this was probably over like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, a guy was saying he thinks there's like a path to where you could be like a full-time jiu-jitsu athlete as a purple belt, obviously contextually dependent. I mean, you're probably not going to make a full-time living as a jiu-jitsu athlete living in New York City, whatever. Between like teaching at an academy, privates, that kind of thing, like how early do you think you could really like dedicate yourself to jiu-jitsu in terms of like that's like the outcome I want. It's like, I want to be a professional jiu-jitsu athlete. I want, most of my bills to be covered from jiu-jitsu. Like, how early do you think that's attainable?
I mean, are you saying when do you start that process, or when do you think it's
when do you think it's like, hey, I could probably get away from this? I think I wish I had the tweet pulled up in front of me, but I think that the gist of it was he was like, by purple belt, if you really hustle and you're really out there, you can give private lessons.
Oh, yeah.
You might be able to get, a teaching gig at your academy and make a living. How early do you think you can get to that point?
I think we're at a okay, this is a really good question. I think if you rewound jiu-jitsu back to when I kind of started, certain belt ranks were rare. Like, it was kind of rare to see a brown and black belt. Like, wow, like purple belts were really good. That has changed a little bit, but it also comes back full circle where now the jiu-jitsu is so high level that blue belts today are better, like the world-class blue belts, like top tier. That in my opinion, the top 10 blue belts at every weight class right now are probably just as good as the black belts 20 years ago. Maybe better.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You think Eldon fucks up a black belt from 20 years ago?
I think he armbars him in seconds. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being honest. Like, if you take Eldon today and you put him in a match with another 180-pound black belt from 1998, I think he probably armbars him pretty fast from a top block.
It's so interesting the way that the sport progresses.
Yeah.
You're probably, I don't disagree at all. I don't have the fucking perspective.
We're baseball nerds, right?
A little bit.
Okay. So here's a good analogy for you. Do you think that you know where I'm going?
Yeah. Yeah.
So take Babe Ruth, put him on a plate now.
Good luck.
Okay. Put him against Clayton Kershaw.
Good luck.
You're getting fucked up, babe. You're one of the best hitters I've ever seen. Well, I mean, but like, you know what I mean? Yeah. One of the best hitters of all time. You put him against Clayton Kershaw in Clayton Kershaw's prime.
Yeah.
I mean, he ain't sniffing that. He's literally going to swing over the top and put that in the dirt every time.
There's no chance.
No chance. He's done.
What do you think the progression of jiu-jitsu looks like? Just because it's, okay, it's not a young sport in the sense of, the totality of it, but in terms of the we'll call it the Americanization of jiu-jitsu and like
professionalism of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still ridiculously early.
I'd say it's still in the early stages.
There's still basically no money. How much money you get for winning ADCC? 75 grand?
Something like that. Or I don't know. I think it's 6 figures now.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll say this. There's more money to be made now in jiu-jitsu than I thought ever possible when I first started. Way more.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. Where can it go? I think it can go very, very far. I've got some other thoughts. I don't know if I want to put on a podcast about how that goes out, but
okay.
We'll talk off camera about that.
That works.
Yeah. There's some good stuff there's some ways that if you want to make the sport professional, I'll say this. If you want to make the sport professional, you have to treat it professionally. That's all I'll say. You can't, the old days of just like, okay, like, yeah, my student's going to get good and like, just hope they just make it on their own. I think those days are done.
Yeah.
Those days are done. But there's still a lot of places that kind of have that same, or a lot of programs that still have that same mentality. It's like, oh, I want a high level athlete. And it's like, you just expect them to just do everything on their own. And like, that's just so, it's hard. Do you expect a really good basketball player to do everything on his own? No. Why are we expecting the athletes today are different, man.
The concept of camps to me is insane. The concept, like, you'll hear sometimes like, oh yeah, they'll do like a 6-week camp or whatever. And it's like, they'll take time off, whatever. Like that to me, I understand there's different physical demands. Even just coming from baseball, it's like, I would get to see some of these guys that were playing, 162 games. They would take a couple of weeks off. And then they would go right into off-season workouts where they were lifting 3-4 times a week, and then they were throwing, and then they were running. And it's like that aspect of jiu-jitsu has always been insane, where it's like I know it's much different now than I guess it used to be.
Yeah, well, so there's a lot to this too. I think camps can help. I don't think camp is a bad idea, actually, to be honest with you.
I don't mean camp just like having a focused period. I mean the idea of like taking like a significant time off. Like I just mean from training in general. And then it's like, oh, ADC's coming up. Like I'll take 8 weeks and get ready, even though I didn't train for the last 2 months, like anything like that.
Yeah,
I know that phase is done. But
yeah, I would agree. I don't think that exists anymore. But I also think there's reasons for that too. I do think that, for example, there's a reason I've had this conversation with a lot of people recently. Recently, meaning like the last maybe year or whatever. But in MMA, why is there camps in MMA? You have to really think about this. You're preparing to get punched in the damn face.
Yeah,
a lot. That's a whole lot different than me just wrestling with you every day.
I agree.
A lot different.
Yeah.
So, look, is jiu-jitsu a tough physical sport? Yeah, it is. But does it have the physical demands of mixed martial arts? Not even close. Not even close. There's a reason why. If you tell me, I love mixed martial arts and I love, I love combat sports, I love mixed martial arts, and I love to do something like that and learn something, just learn jiu-jitsu. Because you'll be able to do that pretty consistently and not have to get punched in the face. Are you going to have tweaks in your body? Yeah. You're going to do the same thing if you went and played, I don't know, like casual pickup basketball, sprain your ankle and
could be worse. You could play pickleball. Apparently, people that play pickleball blow their ACLs out at like a shocking
I was actually
rate.
going to say that too. I had I know somebody who started getting into pickleball recently, and there's a lot of wild injuries, like a lot of leg injuries, crazy ones, like bananas crazy. But think about that though, right? If you think about like a lot of sports that are on the feet, right? Why do basketball players, soccer players, and football players have a lot of ACL tears?
It's the rotation. It's the sudden rotation, and it's the foot. Yeah,
it's stopping on a dime and turning. Right. It's what the ACL does. It prevents this.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it prevents. I've had an ACL surgery, so I just know. So it prevents this.
Okay.
Right. So if I'm trying to turn, pivot, and cut it, and I have to stop here, my femur and tibia are rotating, and there's nothing to keep that taut.
Yeah.
It goes that way. In jiu-jitsu, you don't have to worry about that as much. Unless you're doing like takedowns.
Yeah.
Much. That's why you'll also see, and I know it sucks in terms of sometimes for optics, you see a lot of guard pullers, but you know what? The guard's safe. It's safe. It's safe in terms of there's no catastrophic injuries from falling body weight. Unless you're jumping guard, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But my point is, if there was a match and you slap hands and pull guard right away, yeah, I mean people, the outside likes to, the butt scooters or whatever. And sorry, I'm going to be that guy. If you can't deal with a butt scooter, then you need to learn better passing. I don't have to tell you, just get out of my face with that. Butt scooting is part of jiu-jitsu. Fuck off. I'm going to be that guy.
Yeah,
okay.
That's fair.
Fuck off. That's how I feel. If you can't deal with a butt scooter, you're like, he's a butt scooter. Fuck off. Learn how to pass.
I mean, yeah, it's like if you're not able to deal with the problem in front of you, that's a you problem.
Yeah, that's a you problem. My guard is good and you can't pass my guard, so fuck you. That's a personal thing. Because and this is coming from someone that likes takedowns.
Yeah.
I like watching takedowns. So my point is that I like the whole complete art of it. If you have good takedowns and someone pulls guard on you, you should learn how to pass. If you're a good takedown person, you should learn how to pass really, really well and not be frustrated the person has to stand up. Then that means that you haven't gotten good at passing a really good guard, and you're frustrated by it, that's something to work on.
Which is fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, circle. Where were we? Circling. I was saying.
We were talking about the future, like where you think jiu-jitsu's headed. As a sport.
Yeah, no, I think it's going in a very positive direction in the sense of it's becoming more professional, and you got to learn to if you own an academy or you own a program, if you want to build an athlete, there's a lot of layers to it. One of the most important one is treating the athlete well, not just being like, "Hey, buddy, nice to see you." It's like, what are you doing for them? Are you paying for their tournaments? Are you? Okay. Are they paying gym fees? Some do.
Follow-up question off that. Okay.
That's just the literally the surface layer. There's many deep parts of that. How you can go.
I already know your answer is going to be something to the effect of it depends or contextual, but we'll deal with that, after the fact.
Greg, it depends.
Yeah, exactly. So if you had someone that came in and they're like, "Hey, look, I have no experience. I want to get really, really good at jiu-jitsu. I'm an 18-year-old kid. No, let's call it 16 because I don't really think that. It's going to be probably pretty hard at this point for someone to start at 18 and be a complete world beater.
If you want to be truly world class, you got to start 16 or before.
Okay, let's call it 15, 16. They're like, I want to be an absolute world beater. I want to be the fucking man on a jiu-jitsu mat. What do you think that is there in your opinion an ideal progression in terms of look, the first 6 months I'm going to try and teach them this and then that
I would do the same thing for them than I would do for any other athlete. I don't think that changes. What changes is because you're younger, you're able to absorb the material a little faster. You're able to move well, and you get to build that natural mechanics early.
Okay,
that's what changes. By getting them early, it doesn't necessarily mean that you change your strategy of how you build the athlete. What does change is how well they absorb and move. It's like a young embryo that as opposed to like one that's in.
It's like a neuroplasticity thing.
Yes.
If you can get him before puberty, that's probably ideal. Because in baseball, I had a hitting coach. His last name was McCann, Brian McCann's brother, Brad McCann.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I played for Howie's travel team. I love Howie McCann.
Oh shit.
He's a good motherfucker. Howie, Brad, Brian. Brad was my hitting coach, and he was always like, you got to learn how to swing before puberty because puberty will throw everything through a fucking loop. He was like, you'll completely forget what you're doing, and then you have to relearn everything after. Yeah. He always called it the great equalizer.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean, I think as time goes on in jiu-jitsu, you're seeing that be a little bit more and more. I think, once again, to bring these guys up, I mean, there's a reason why Gain Hoffer are building, in my opinion, not just a good program, but building a fucking legacy. It's different. They're building a legacy. They're understanding the future. They're seeing the future. It's like they traveled to the year 3000 and saw what it was, and they're doing it now.
Okay.
They know that like any other, for example, world class gymnasts, what age did they start?
Fucking 4.
Right. So,
I mean, world class. That's what's kind of still crazy to me about jiu-jitsu is you still have people that started late. Like, if barring the top 0.001% of genetic anomalies, if you're 16 years old and you go, I think I'm going to pick up a basketball, I'd like to play in the NBA. It's like too fucking late, dude.
Too late.
You're 12 years too late.
Too late. In jiu-jitsu, it's a little bit different, and I think because it's still early in the sport.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is I think over time, you're going to start seeing that the athletes just get better and better and better, where it's going to be the nuances or the differences are more
It's more pronounced.
Yeah.
You get to a point where it's like, it's way too late to start.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh shit, that's just, and you're starting to see it a little bit, not crazy. Could you? I mean, look, John Danaher said something really smart about making somebody truly good at anything in 5 years, and he's absolutely fucking right about that. Like, I totally agree with that. You can change a person in 5 years on any level, any level. Can you take a 20-year-old kid and then in 25 years, at 25 years old, so like take a kid, 20 years old, by the time he's 25, put him in a 5-year program, and from 20 to 25, make him top notch? Yes, you can. Contextual. Are you training twice a week?
Yeah. I mean,
you see what I'm getting
that's
at?
kind of what I was getting at in terms of like the question about what would you do in order to get them to that point? Because it's like, I mean, if someone wants to get to that point, obviously that gets into the whole supplementation debate, but
yeah, which is wild.
That's a whole other thing. But it's like, I mean, because I've read people online, and this is all retroactive, where they're like, look, I would recommend you don't take more than like 2 or 3 classes your first 6 months, like blah, 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 for whatever reason. Like, let your body adapt, don't get hurt.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Like, do you?
That depends. I think that in a normal scenario, I would tell the kids still train every day.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm very proud of with our program is that we're still not in the dinosaur era of jiu-jitsu where, every day is pohada.
Yeah.
Every round, every day, everything you do is 100% intensity, 100% maximal effort, and there is nothing, and you don't ever like have a second to try to figure something out. I think that doesn't do anything for you. That just breaks your body down. All you're doing is just bang your head against a rock really hard.
Yeah.
A good, like that's just anything else. So I think that our program is structured that way where, we do lots of volume at our academy.
Yeah.
We got a lot of volume. And I think that helps more than hurts. Because it's like being in a batting cage, and you're not seeing live pitching, but you're getting volume. So when you get back out there, you feel pretty comfortable.
Volume structured correctly, not. I mean, back to the baseball reference. In a baseball context, how many practices are you scrimmaging? It's like you don't scrimmage. You're doing PFPs, and you're taking infield, and you're in the batting cage doing hitting drill. It's like the actual pohada, whatever, in baseball
is the game.
Is the game.
Right.
And you get, you'll have a scrimmage here and a scrimmage there, but it's like.
Well, here's an interesting question for you wrestlers. They actually, for a good part of them, their drilling and their their preparation is kind of a little bit, it's way less intense than their actual like wrestling matches.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they do have some, but like they actually, our jiu-jitsu program is structured a little bit more like wrestling, not in terms of I mean, there is like good wrestlers have like lots of like, I mean, they really, I think that this is another thing, but like wrestling programs, jiu-jitsu can learn a lot from wrestling programs.
Really?
I think so. That's a topic for another debate. But like,
No, let's go into that.
okay, what we can learn is I think that like we can learn how to push somebody mentally a little bit. I think that's really important, especially a high level competitor. Like, but we do that actually at our program a little bit. Like, not to the we're not exactly a wrestling program, but we do things situationally to push them mentally.
How so?
Starting in bad positions, starting down points. You know, recognizing you had to score. We do a lot of rounds where it's like, okay, I got collar sleeve, I got to sweep. Or I'm starting in half guard, and my job is to pass.
Yeah, I have to pass.
I have to pass. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and you got to pass. That's the objective. So we do that specifically to build that that situational awareness and that skill. Really, it's giving away my sauce here.
Don't give away too much.
I know.
What do you think? I mean, kind of jumping back to the New York side of everything. What do you think are there differences in the culture between New York and Atlanta and the jiu-jitsu communities? What are they?
Yeah.
What do you like about it? What do you dislike about it?
So, in New York, people cross train a lot. You visit your friends and you train at different academies. I think that's pretty common. I don't see it as common down here. I feel like it's frowned upon by a lot of people, which I don't fucking get. I don't understand how that works. I mean, I used to cross train at like I would go to even when I was at Marcelo's, I'd go cross train at like Shaolin's every once in a while. It's crazy, right? I left Shaolin's training Marcelo's. Why are you cross training back at Shaolin's? Because I had some friends there, and I wanted to see them. And I would go on Sunday, and me and Alex had to get some rounds together. It was fun. Yeah, because I was like, I wanted to work on a specific sweep and see how he defends it.
Okay.
But like, I would do that all the time. I would go to Long Island and cross train at like Soka's, which is a good gym out there. So like I would bounce around a little bit, and so forth and so on, so to speak.
So more cross training, more accepted that there's going to be cross training.
I think it was just more. I think it's because of the dense population of New York made it feel like there was so much there, and I think there's a scarcity kind of thought of jiu-jitsu. It's like, oh my God, like my academy is, if I lose this one guy, like my academy is going to go to the trash. I don't think that's
even
true.
Though there's millions and millions and millions of people in Atlanta.
There's like a billion people, not a billion, but there's like tons of people walking down the street now that are your prime target.
I don't even know. I mean, I'm like 8 million people, I think, live in like the metro Atlanta area.
I don't know if it's 8, but it's in the sixes or something.
6, 8,
like that's a lot, dude.
Yeah.
Like I actually would argue there's not enough jiu-jitsu here, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think you could use a lot more.
I mean, yeah, I would. Got such an
I don't want to go there, but I could list off like 5 places you could put an academy to do very well. But I'm not going to say anything about that.
I know.
I can't do that.
I know.
I can't do that. That's not fair. But like there is.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you could do one like, there's, like I said, there's tons.
You don't got to go into it. You don't want to give away all the sauce.
No, but I mean, you could. Like I did notice that cultural difference. It is changing though.
Okay.
Which I kind of like. There are people that are much more accepted of that. There are certain academies down here that are really open about that stuff, and it's really cool. And I understand from an other side point, like when people say, "Oh, wow, cross training is bad," and this and that, it's super contextual, right? Like, are you cross training to develop skill and to train with your friends and get different looks and get more mat time? That makes complete sense to me. That makes all the sense in the world. Are you cross training because you're, I hate being this guy, but like you're trying to observe another student? Like, that's weird.
Going doing fucking like scouting, like
yeah, but like who's really doing that in this day and age? I mean, like if you're a high level athlete, I hate to say it, your matches are on Flow Grappling. They're on YouTube. You have Instagram highlights.
Yeah.
If you think that your stuff is being hidden in 2024, I mean, like some students like, oh, you need to like hide my stuff, and I'm just like, well, not students, but I mean, there are other people like, you need to hide my stuff from social media. And I think to myself, like, do you honestly think you just did a match where it was like the Atlanta Open this weekend? It was everyone's match was on YouTube.
Yeah. All recorded,
if you did a match,
all uploaded.
If you did a match and you're like, I don't want people seeing my stuff, well, you are shit out of luck at this point. Pretty much, right? It's out there. So that's why, here's a funny example. When MG in Action came out, I think it was him preparing for like ADCC.
Okay.
And they were like, oh, Marcelo, maybe you shouldn't put your X card stuff on MG in Action. Your opponents are going to see that and this and that. His response was so so confident but funny at the same time because that's how he is. He'll still say things very simple, but like you kind of understand what he's saying. He's like, no one knows it better than I do. I was like, shit. I was like, that's a level of security I've never seen from someone.
That's sick.
He was like, they don't know what I do. He's like, good luck with that. I was like, and she went out there to sweep everybody out.
Put it all out there. Hey,
yeah.
this is exactly
Like,
what I'm going to do to you. This is what's
Yo,
coming. Good luck.
That to me is when we think about great jiu-jitsu, like the greats of all time. That is, to me, that's impressive. You're like, I know what I'm going to do. Good luck.
Same. I mean, yeah, jiu-jitsu, MMA. I mean, it's like you look at some of these guys in MMA.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, just so you know, I'm going to walk you down. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to dump you on the mat, and then I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And you're going to have weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to try and stop it. And guess what? You're still not even going to come close.
Yeah. That's why I always put like, when I think about the greats of all time, like the Mount Rushmore jiu-jitsu, why Marcelo and Gordon they have to be in your 2-4. If they're not, like, I can't even talk to you.
Okay.
I can't at this point. If you don't put those two in there, it's almost like you can talk about like, philosophical difference, but I'm talking pure technical jiu-jitsu. Marcelo Garcia and Gordon Ryan are 2 of the top 4 of all time. If you do not think that way, I don't even respect your opinions. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane to not put either one of those guys up there. Simply because you knew what they were going to do and it did not matter. That level of like jiu-jitsu is insane.
That's dominance.
Like, yes, Gordon telling you, I'm going to armbar you, I'm going to triangle you, I'm going to leg lock you is crazy. Marcelo saying like, yeah, okay, you know my X guard game, my butterfly guard game, and my arm drags. Like, okay, it's great that you know it, but I know it better than you do. Mm-hmm. That's insane. Like, so confident that like, yeah, my videos are out, and this is so it's also contextual in terms of time, right? Like back then, there was no one's information was out there. He was the only one really with his stuff out there, because he was one of the first to do that, to put his information out there online.
Yeah.
And so, he was like displaying his entire thing. Where back then, people were like, oh, what's going on? Find stuff, and he was like, it's right here.
Blast it all out on the internet.
It's right here. It's right here, like with big signs, like, here is my game I'm going to do to you. I'll see you in a couple months. That's crazy.
I love that. That's sick.
Yeah.
What, kind of jumping off the Gordon thing, what are the differences you've noticed or picked up on from working with Brandon Bennett, Henzo black belt, John Danaher black belt? What's been the relationship learning from him and what they did at Henzo's and with John versus what you bring from Marcelo's?
Good question.
What's that relationship
like? I think what Brandon has taught me specifically is how to be a really good teacher.
How so?
To think about things deeply in terms of the technique, like not just A, B, C, not just that, but like the details I kind of knew of some of the things I do, but it was explaining why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's a big key that I kind of got from him. And Paul did that organically. He would always do that. But like, I just didn't pick up on it, I guess. I wasn't that smart.
Weren't teaching with him in the same room.
I got that from Brandon and learning that. And I think, so I think that was a big deal, is learning the why. Like, just not that I knew what I was doing, but I had to think about like why. Other things that Brandon has taught me is that like to simplify things sometimes for people. Because sometimes we go too complex. Like, Campbell has that problem sometimes too. He tries to go down these weeds all the time. And the guy's like, calling what it is, like he's kind of like a jiu-jitsu savant in a way. Like he just picks things up real fast and he goes on these rabbit holes. And he's a brilliant kid.
Watches a technique on YouTube one time and then rolls into the gym and is like, oh, okay.
I'm going to try this today. It's like, okay. But, which I actually, I low-key love that, because that's actually how my brain works. I'm like all over the place. Like that's why me and Campbell talk about a lot of jiu-jitsu, a lot off the mat, because we're always like in that kind of mindset. But simplifying it helps, because not everyone is processing jiu-jitsu fast like that. They're like, okay, I have to take these pieces together. And sometimes when you process it too fast, you might over-process and miss all the stuff. You have to come back. You have to slow it down to gain those little nuances that make it important. So simplifying it really does help. The more simple you can make something, the more impact you can make on it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of like talking about like, at some point you add the details later, but it's almost like learning it early and learning it late. Like, what are the early part of learning a technique and the latter part of learning a technique? In my opinion, the early part of it is learning what it is, almost like a big picture.
Okay.
Like I'm showing you the house itself. I'm not gonna tell you how to build it. I'm gonna show you what a house looks like. Then we're gonna talk about the most important part of it. What's the structure of it? Of the structure of the technique. Then we get into like, the crown molding. Then we get into like, how the rooms are laid out, what it looks like. That's the finishing touches.
Okay.
They come last, in my opinion. But if you don't have like the meat and potatoes, which is like the general direction and the scope of what you're doing, like mechanically, then you kind of miss the end of it.
Like the Pareto principle, essentially.
I'm familiar.
It's like 80-20, 20-80. Like
I'm sorry. I called the 80-20 rule. Yeah.
Pareto principle, 80-20, same shit. Yeah. It's like,
thank
hey,
you
look,
for teaching me that.
well, it's like, here's the 20%. Here's the 20% of the technique that's going to get you 80% of the results, and then go down your Campbell and Greg rabbit holes with the remaining 80%.
But now here's the interesting thing is that other stuff does matter at the highest level. But
100%.
But I can't teach you that if you don't get the first part. Then it's irrelevant. Then it's like, so sometimes I used to teach techniques this way when I first started, and it was fucking terrible. I would teach a technique, and I would teach the entire thing, all the details, the nuances, the whole thing. Almost like I would try to give a seminar on a technique.
Okay.
And everyone got fucking lost. And I'm like, this is not making any sense. This is making no sense to me. This is crazy. So I had to rewind my thought process. Like, okay, what if I just keep it super simple? Super simple. And then that like just talk about what are the important things? Like, what are the important things in, like, close guard? What's important? Okay, posture breaking and angles. Keep it simple. Understanding where the elbow alignment is. Is it on my hip where I can bring it across, or is it on the outside where I can attack it on the outside?
Yeah.
And you can general like directional principles that you can overlay with all your techniques.
Start to build a picture from there of like, okay, now we have this part. Now we can go into how I can attack this particular setup. Now we can go into...
And then when you get to that, now you can talk about like pato chokes and different spinning arm bars, all kind of cool stuff. Yeah. But if you don't get where the arm is, it's a bit relevant. If I just teach you the pato choke with going, which is, that choke is bananas, but I really like it. I don't know if it's called a pato choke, but when I started doing it, I just call it the pato choke now, where he like goes underneath and I'm a big pato guy, by the way, but he goes underneath and he reaches the cross collar grip, and then he uses it's almost like a cross collar choke with the arm inside.
Okay.
It's like a punch choke, but like a cross collar choke. It's bananas cool.
I don't even know what
it's super cool.
Okay.
SDK about it. It's super cool. Anyways, point I'm making is that, like, you're not even going to get, like, you don't even understand that choke is available unless you understand there's an arm on the outside that I can scoop under. So you're not even seeing arm positioning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just trying to teach you how to, like, put your foot on the gas.
Yeah.
That's it. Just that's it. Where's the gas pedal? Not
first things first.
Yes.
Here's the gas pedal.
Yes.
Now we're going to talk about accelerating.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I started doing my teaching a little bit. And the other thing I got from Brandon, I think, was super important, was that sometimes doing the same thing consistently is actually better than doing a lot of things all the time. So
I've noticed that the programming is much more different in that capacity.
Yeah. I used to try to teach you guys, like, I would like butterfly guard, for example, that I play. I would say, okay, can I teach you, these 7 butterfly sweeps, these 8 entries, and these all transitions off of it in like 2 weeks? And it was terrible. I'm trying to accelerate. I was trying to do that. And I realized, like, everyone was doing, like, none of it right. I was like, this is terrible. So now I say, just keep it simple. I'm going to teach you, like, the 3 basic sweeps, the 3 most common reactions off it, and I'm going to recycle it for not just 2 weeks, but now for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that 2-month span, I will go down more rabbit holes, but I funnel it to be a little bit more. You're seeing the same technique all the time, and it's exposure rate. The more you get exposed to something, the better you get at it.
More repetition, more
Correct.
repetition, more repetition.
Yeah. The only reason why I got good at the butterfly guard is because we fucking did it all the damn time. It wasn't because it was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just was exposed to it. And then when I would train to it, I would put myself in it specifically. And I got better at it because of that.
What other things have you picked up on? And I mean, you said that you hated that as a teacher initially. You were like, oh, I'm trying to teach this particular way, and it's not particularly effective. What other things did you change in your teaching that you were like, oh, okay, I feel like my students' retention rate is better. I feel like they're executing these at a higher rate?
I think a couple things. I think one is explaining to students that the technique itself is that there are, I'm trying to think the right word to explain this, but that there are like reasonings behind it.
Okay.
Like there are certain situations where you don't get it. I think I didn't do that early on, and I regret that. Like early on, like the first year or 2 teaching, I regret that. Where let's say, for example, I'm trying to teach you how to do, let's say, a knee cut pass, for example, right? I would just teach you the knee cut pass, but I would not teach you when is it available. Okay, now I tell you that. I'm like, okay, are the knees open apart where there is space inside to cut through, where I can dig myself to an underhook or good head positioning, find myself on inside real estate, and then, cut through the guard, knee slice through the guard. Well, then that's true. But if your legs are together, you see a lot of the, back in the day, people would go like really hard, like a clamp guard, like on the leg, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you try to knee cut and you keep like falling off the person.
You have no chance.
Right. So now I have to contextually put together, when is that there? So now I'm adding that layer to it, and I think that's actually done a good service to the students because they're understanding that like the technique in itself is a tool, and there's a right tool for the right job.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to do a triangle, and all I'm doing is my legs are around your neck, I don't have a triangle. Yeah. I'm squeezing on your ears, but not really gonna put you to sleep.
Not gonna do too much with it. They'll sit there and stare back at you.
Yeah, I mean, look, are there variations that, like armless triangles? Yeah, of course. But I'm talking about a typical basic triangle, right? I'm not going to get that with just your neck. I need your arm too.
Was your first year or two teaching also the first year or two that you were the owner of Odyssey? So you were learning how to teach and learning how to run a jiu-jitsu school and trying to scale a jiu-jitsu school all at the same time?
I'm learning how to do everything.
That's fun.
Yeah, really hard.
Not stressful at all.
No. It's hard. It was really hard. I think the most difficult part that I had was managing all the different layers of it. And even today, I'm working on that. How do I deal with that? It's so dumb, right? Like, I don't know if you remember that Biggie song, like more money, more problems. Not to say they have more money because I'm not fucking wealthy or anything, but like the bigger the business gets, the more problems that happen.
Yeah.
Right? The more students you have, the more issues you're going to have.
Dynamics, and you got to have more teachers, and then you got to figure out
so many different layers to it. So I think that as I'm growing, I'm starting to realize that like to truly make this great, I'm going to have to manage a lot of these little buckets. And part of that actually comes with me taking some self-care too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was listening to someone, they were saying your business is only as successful as you are. Like internally, it's like if you're not internally like on top and improving, like you can't be internally a wreck and just completely strung out and at your wits end 24/7 and have a business that's running like
it's going to burn out
perfectly smoothly. Like there's something, the wheels are going to pop off at some point.
But yeah, so I started doing that myself in 2024, where I'm putting a little bit more emphasis on mental health.
Mental health.
You are sometimes I am in mental health. Mental health, overall wellness, physical and mental, and spiritual health.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think that's in order things to, because I think if I'm just obsessed with it and I don't have a little bit of a balance to help my own health, that's going to be hard to keep that going. So I've definitely made that more of a priority in 2024. Just personally.
In terms of the business side of it, with a jiu-jitsu academy, is there anything in particular you think that is a distinctly unique business challenge for a jiu-jitsu academy as opposed to others? Because I know you said earlier, and I mean, I agree that most businesses, you have people, you have processes, you have product. Like those are the same, but obviously within that product side, there's going to be some unique, and I guess the people too, because the people are the product. Whatever. What are the unique challenges of a jiu-jitsu
academy?
Unique challenges of a jiu-jitsu academy, if I could speak, as compared to another business.
I think the unique challenges would be that it is a business model where people are interacting together.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a little different than just owning a restaurant where people come in and you don't see them again.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I own a restaurant and you came into my dinner, you came in to have dinner, like tonight, you might not see that the same person that's sitting next to you. Well, you guys both might be my customers, but you're not going to be here at the same time most of the time.
Yeah,
for the most part, right? Yeah, me occasionally, but like it's not a thing. You're not interacting with that person. So I think that's a dynamic that's interesting to kind of to go over and understand, is that you're participating in something with somebody else. There's an act. It's like a dance partner. I have to work with someone. So that's where the dynamic of like personalities and having really good social cues with people is really important. Understanding that part. That's really unique about jiu-jitsu, is that it's different if we're just training as friends, but like as an academy, when you have multiple people, there's lots of that going on. So that's a unique business challenge that you don't see that. I'm trying to think where else I would see that other than a martial arts academy, actually. I can't think of too many.
I mean, the only other thing I can think of is like it's all going to be athletic. I mean, like in any sort of like travel program, when you're growing up, like you've got to manage the chemistry of the people that are there. You can't, I mean, then I guess you have the parent element, but whatever.
Yeah.
Gives a shit, but.
Maybe, I mean, think about it, even if you were like a ballet school or you were like a yoga studio is not the same, right? Because you're not.
No, it's interchangeable. Right. Like the person that I'm, that's next to me in the yoga class is different, but it's like if me and you are training together and I feel like you've victimized me even outside of a jiu-jitsu context, it's like, well, nah, I don't trust that motherfucker to, you know, not pop my elbow or whatever.
Yeah, and think of that. Now take that and multiply that by 200 and some people.
Do you think there's an intuitive trust that gets built quicker in jiu-jitsu from people that you train with?
1,000%.
Yeah. Do you think it's like a subconscious thing?
No. Well, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
I think there's definitely there's a part of training in jiu-jitsu that really does touch like a very primitive part of your brain.
Yeah.
You know, like the deep fight or flight, the deep, you know, like the people you train with, whether you might not actually even get along with them, like in terms of like want to be their best friends. You will have a certain level of comfort and respect and appreciation for them.
Yeah.
Regardless. I think that's important. There are people I've trained with that I just personally don't like, but they're good training partners. And I'll tell you, like training with them has brought in a level of respect for them.
Okay.
Like even if I don't want to go on a vacation with them or have dinner with them, but I definitely respect them because like, think about it. If we're training together, for the most part, I'm trusting with my life.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm trusting you not to maim me.
Yeah. I'm trusting you not to kill me or break my arm, break my foot, put me in the hospital. That's really serious, man.
I was explaining it to someone. I was like, I think that on a subconscious level, your like reptilian brain is like, this person has had the opportunity to kill me.
Yes.
Dozens and dozens and dozens of times. And every single time they let go, without fail, they don't put me in the hospital.
Wild, isn't it?
They don't kill me. And so it's like that reptilian level. It's like you can, to your point, you're not necessarily best friends with them. You might not even like them, but it's like, I know that they're good for it. Like I know that if some shit hits the fan, there's a...
You get where, yeah, that was what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that, but I didn't know how to say that. It's look, I've never been in the military, and I would love someone else to kind of like chime in on this part. It's just a thought I had. I don't have any real data on it because I'm not in the military. But you know, what I have heard from people who have been in the military before is that you know that the people that they have that they served with,
yeah,
they have a very deep bond with them. It goes very, very far. And I think some of that, it's not the same thing, but there are overlaps, right? You know, nothing's exactly the same, but there's some overlaps of you're doing something very tough together. So you develop a bond that is very unique and very special, that goes far beyond a lot of other things. So I think that, that's a unique challenge for sure, is that, or you know, dealing with people like that. But to the benefit of that, man, you develop some very serious connections to people.
Yeah,
you know,
you trust people deeply.
Yeah, there are some people I train with that like I would trust them with very deep secrets.
Yeah,
but I might not trust the people that I've went to school with my whole life.
On just a pure time duration, it's like on a logical, rational level, I should have more trust because you've gone through this and this with me. But this person, it's like I've known you for a year, but in that year, I know you.
It's such a weird thing. I don't know how to really explain it. I think we need to start pulling somebody in that I went to school for psychology, but someone that studied it a lot deeper than I did, past like a bachelor's degree.
I'd love to find someone that had studied that shit and be like, why?
Why? Yeah. What is it? There's something about it that when I train with you, it's like there's a level of respect and trust that I have with you that I didn't have before. Now, maybe it's because you can kill me. So and you didn't. I don't know.
I don't even know if it's that, because it's like I feel like you could. This is just spitballing. Even if you're a purple belt and you're just like training with a white belt, that white belt probably has zero ability to actually inflict damage on you. Like you're in control that whole time, but I still feel like you get a lot of the trust.
Yeah, it's weird, right? You know, I mean, he could just wow out and punch you in the face.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, it's like
fight or flight to your fight or flight point.
Yeah, it's not even just the technical part of it. It's just that you're trusting somebody in a very confined space where you're fighting. That's a tough thing to digest for a lot of people. Also, why people quit.
Have you ever seen people really just absolutely freak the fuck out, fight or flight wise, and then just like lose it? Like, because I don't know that. Yeah. I feel like that doesn't happen a ton, but there definitely is an element of jiu-jitsu where it's like in the beginning you're learning how to combat that, because every ounce of your body is like, I am in a fight, this person's strangling me, what the hell is going on? And like,
no, I've never seen that. No, I've never seen that.
I've only seen it on gun range.
Yeah, I've never seen it in jiu-jitsu.
I saw a dude on a gun range have like a meltdown. It was just like the concussions of like the rounds going off. The dude just like froze up. I felt bad for the guy.
That's really scary.
Yeah, it was like his first ever time. It was in like a handgun class too. Like I was taking this gun training thing, and we were just on range. And the dude freaked out, but I was like, I don't know if there's like some equivalent of that in jiu-jitsu, where some dude's like, just like, I can't do this shit.
Maybe, but
it's like the Just See Red Bros.
I've never seen it. Maybe. I mean,
Have you ever had like a Just See Red guy come in?
Yeah.
How's that go?
They're just weird people. I don't care about them.
How?
I mean, they just, you know what you treat them like? You treat them like that friend in school that you knew they were trying to say something and it was wrong and you just laugh them off.
Yeah.
You know, like you're not trying to, you don't empower that, but you don't really challenge it either because it's not worth it.
You're just like, yeah, just smile and nod.
Mhm.
I've met a guy that was like that one time. I was out and this guy, I had an Odyssey. I think I had the Marcelo Garcia shirt on. And this guy was like, oh, you train jiu-jitsu? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, oh, that's really cool. Like, I'd love to. And I was like, oh, like you should come by. He's like, oh, no, I couldn't do that. I was like, what do you mean? Like, and I thought it was like, oh no, like I'm scared, whatever. I was
Yeah,
like,
of course.
dude, like, there's always like an element of fear. Like, you should come through.
Which is 90% of the reaction.
I was like, dude, like, Odyssey, we have a really good culture. Like, you should come through. He goes, no, I don't think you understand. I couldn't do that. I was like, and like, I was like, look, man, like, I'm not going to really press you on it, but I was like, I will say, like, I think you should at least owe it to yourself to take a class. You should come through. He was like, no, I mean, you just don't know how I'd react. And immediately I was like, oh no, he's one of them. And he was like, I mean, like, someone might catch me once, but then after that one time, I mean, it'd be game on. And I was like, oh my God. And then I got to listen to this guy tell me that how intuitively his body would just know how to defend himself against someone that had been training jiu-jitsu for a decade. It's like, no, I would just, a switch would flip and I would be an expert.
That is a very common reaction.
It's wild.
Yeah. All right. We say common, right? Like
relatively.
Yeah, most stats are made up on the spot, right? But
90% of stats are made up on the spot.
But there's a good chunk of people that, when before they try jiu-jitsu, they're a little apprehensive, a little nervous about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Then there's a small fraction of people that have this false sense of confidence and bravado that is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like oh, I just see red. And I'm just like, yeah, go train with Gordon. He'll just destroy you. He'll just destroy you. He'll literally hold you down for like 5 minutes and just laugh at you.
You're like, you sit here.
Yeah.
Think about what you said.
He'll play with your hair.
I was reading someone talking about it, and they're like, fighting is the one thing that the average adult male thinks he just intuitively knows how to do at the highest level. It's like, you walk up to anyone on the street, be like, can you throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball? No. Can you shoot 35% from 3-point in an NBA game? Nope. No. But you ask a large chunk of the adult male population if they can fight, if it came down to it, and they think that just intuitively they would know what to do, even though humans intuitively fight the exact wrong way.
They do.
Like, you get attacked and your inclination is to turn your back, and it's like, you do that, you get strangled. You want to throw a punch, you pop your chin up in the air and swing from back here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all wrong.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they know
how to fight.
There's countless amounts of videos of, people who have trained in grappling versus untrained people. Yeah. And it never goes well for that person. Ever. I have not seen it once. Yeah. I mean, even I've seen some video where like the guy will land a couple of punches. Like if you think you're going to get into an altercation and not get hurt, you're insane. Yeah. That's not true. What's going to happen is over the course of time of proper training and skill set, you are going to be able to handle that situation better than you ever will. Mm-hmm. And at the longer that fight goes on, the worse it is for that person.
I think it's something to the effect of most people are completely exhausted and to a point of like, if a trained person was going with them, they would be able to subdue them with minimal effort within like 90 seconds or 2 minutes, just because the adrenal dump. It's like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Look at the first person Dave Jiu-Jitsu. How hard did they struggle at that first round? They're breathing so hard.
Oh my God. Yeah. Fucking panting like their life depends on it.
You would think they need medical help, but they don't.
I was doing that when Shub was strangling me and I had 80 pounds on him and I was sitting there like, oh my God, this is miserable.
But yeah, it's an interesting point, right? It's because, I think it's because of the if someone asked me, hey, Greg, like what, for self-defense purposes, I want to be confident in defending myself. I don't care about being Gordon Ryan. I just want to defend myself. I'll be like, okay, you still need to train sport jiu-jitsu. Sport jiu-jitsu. And I'll tell you why. What it does over the course of many, although the techniques of sport jiu-jitsu still play in self-defense. So anyone tells me they don't, fuck off. They do. So like, oh, you're off your back. And I'm just like, yeah, I could still sweep you and like lock you. So that's okay. Like that stuff still works. I'm not saying I would put myself there,
but the technique, the principle remains
right. There's
the same.
also like context here. They're like, oh,
you're not going to pull guard in a street fight.
No, hell no. Are you crazy? Like that's
Come
insane.
down here, bro.
No, anyone wants to pull guard in a street fight, that's crazy. But if someone punches you in the face and you're on your back, you should be able to defend yourself there, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. So like, let's.
Someone sucker punches you and now you're on the ground.
Correct,
and it's like, oh shit, now we got to deal
he's
with.
like, he tries to rob you and something happens and he just elbows you and you fall over or whatever. You're on the floor and he's approaching you. Yeah. To think that you're going to be like, hey, let's stop and reset this thing is crazy. It's not going to happen.
Let me stand up real quick. And
Yeah,
it's
no.
like, no, we got to go from here.
Exactly.
Champ.
I got to find a way to intelligently defend from my back and be able to put you on your ass and secure a dominant position or finish you.
I want to find a video of someone where they get sucker punched and then they just like jump into an ashi and then just rip some dude's leg apart.
There is some videos of like fights like that though.
I saw one of them. It was a basketball court.
Yes, that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
the guy they get into a fight and the dude's like, "Don't do it. I'll blow your knee out," and then literally just pop.
So I was talking about like sports
jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
You know, why is it like important? Why would I say it's important for self-defense? Right. As far as technique stuff aside, let's put the technique in a different bucket for today. Talking just about the pure application. If you've never been in an altercation, when you get into an altercation, I mean, you've probably competed before, so you understand that when you're in a competitive setting, there's adrenaline, there's all this stuff. There's many emotions of layers that go through because you're in a fight or flight situation. People who are untrained, they do not manage that well. They have no idea how to manage that. They're panicking half the time, and they're making poor choices, or they're letting their natural instincts actually take them in a bad path.
Yeah.
Right? So if you are trained, you're used to confrontation. That's normal to you. Like confrontation meaning sparring rounds.
You lock up with someone and it's not like, oh my God, this is the first time this has ever happened. It's like, oh, wait a second. Okay, I need to get an underhook. Okay, let me,
Goes back to exposure rate. The more you do it, the better you are at it.
You just go into the robot portion of your brain where it's like, you just know, like, okay, let me fight for this. Let me fight for this.
Or even just the fact that you've been in an altercation and you're not panicking, you just feel comfortable. Like you can actually make good assessment judges. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your judgment is pretty good. You can assess things and have good judgment on what you're doing because you've been there before to not feel overwhelmed and panicky. You know what I'm saying? Like if for example, there was a friend of mine. This was like before jiu-jitsu got like super popular. He was one of these guys like, oh, jiu-jitsu doesn't work. Show me. You know, one of those. You know that situation.
That type.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So. And he harped on me for so long about this. And I just and then one day he was kind of like at my house, like, we need to do this. I was like, okay, whatever. And I think we actually moved the freaking, the coffee table in my house. I'm like, all right, we're going to do this today. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'll make it more fair. I'll start off my back.
Okay.
I'll make it more fair for you. You sucker punched me. We're on our back. And I was like, you're allowed to just hit me in the head like little slappies. Like don't really punch me because it's just like, I don't want to get there because then if we're gonna have that rule, then I'm gonna really break your arm.
Yeah.
So let's just have fair play here. And if I remember correctly, I think I put him into close. I took his back, his arm dragged him to the back. And then when I got there, he was just like, he was just like flailing. He was throwing his arms, whatever. It was easy to get a choke. Yeah. Like I did in like seconds. And so
sticks his neck like straight up in the air. You're like, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I was trying to explain to him is like, it's not that you are not strong. You're actually super strong. And I actually had to really work. As a matter of fact, my shoulder was killing me after that. Like I had to prove, I don't want to prove a point though. Like I was stupid, but like I was an idiot. But point I was trying to make is that like, an untrained person, when they get into that situation, it is their information overload. And there's all these stressors, right? It's someone trying to hurt them, not knowing not assessing the situation around them, puts them in a certain way. Why do people in the military, if they get into a confrontation, who have proper military training, why do they look so confident and calm?
They've been there before.
Yes,
they've drilled it and drilled it.
That's right. They've been in those situations. It's routine. It's like they're comfortable there. It's getting comfortable in the uncomfortable scenario. And that's what jiu-jitsu does to you. It doesn't necessarily you learn skills and you learn a lot of things, but really the crux of it from a self-defense tactic, aside from the technical stuff, which is part of the icing on the cake, it's the real, the ribbon that puts everything together. But what you really learn, the core of it, is being calm in bad situations, being able to defend from your back, not panic, not give up your back, being able to keep yourself tight, find pockets of space where you can move, or when you're on top, how to control people really well. Well, that works in any self-defense scenario. And do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why people are like, oh, like, why does it work? It doesn't work because I'm not teaching you some magic bullet. That's why, like, if you watch a video, people are like, well, I saw a jiu-jitsu technique on video, I'm going to be good at it. It's like, you might have seen it, and that's fine. That's you have information. But what really makes things palpable is, can you take that information and can you put it into play with your peers, and then try it, and then feel it, and then experiment and learn with it, and you know what I mean? That's how you get good at it.
And then actually understand it and comprehend it, not know the theory behind it.
Yes. Yeah. You can't You can't learn to play the piano from a video. You can't play, you know what I mean? You can see stuff, but you can't really just by doing, if I just watch a piano video, I can't go and, play Mozart.
You're just like, oh, wow, that was really cool that guy can do all that.
Right. But unless I'm actually putting my hands and fingertips to the keyboard to play the piano, I'm never going to really learn it. I can't learn to surf by watching a surf video.
Yeah.
I have to actually get out there on a fucking surfboard.
Train sport jiu-jitsu, learn how to defend yourself.
Yeah, it's or something, right? Like if you're like, I don't want to grapple because I don't know, you've got some
because I want CTE.
Whatever, right? No, I'm saying, yeah, it's like, yeah, but then all right, do something else.
Box or Muay Thai.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're asking me, but then you ask me, what is the self-defense art that I would want to learn for myself, if at anything, I would probably gravitate to anything grappling wise. Period. It doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu. It could literally be judo.
Why?
Close context.
Okay.
It's close quarters. I want to be close to you. I don't want to be in a situation. You're much bigger than me. I never want to be in a situation where I'm far from you, where you can just swing and hit me in the head, or like just power slam me to the mat. I'm panicking now. You're so much bigger and stronger than me. You could literally just you don't even need to know what you're doing. But if I'm far away from you and you
just start
swinging at me,
like a berserker.
you're gonna hurt me. But if I can get my head in close and body lock you, I feel a little more comfortable. And I can duck my head behind you and foot trip you. Well, then now I feel a little more comfortable. That's where I would gravitate someone who wants to learn how to defend themselves or pick a martial art that is good for them, regardless of size or size is that. It's not because it's like jiu-jitsu doesn't have any magic techniques to it. That's not true. It's just because it's jiu-jitsu specifically or grappling specifically. Really helps with limiting the range of somebody and their weapons that can hurt you, which are their hands and their feet in proximity, right? So when you watch MMA fights, why do you see when someone clinches up with them that like the power, that the impact, the strikes don't matter as much, but they matter a whole lot when they're about like arm or a foot away, right?
There's no ability to generate force.
Correct.
In here.
That's right. There's no rotational power. And that's where all your power of your kicks and your punches comes in the rotation of your body. And then you need to be in a certain length, right? So like if you think about it in jiu-jitsu or in jiu-jitsu in terms of like defending yourself, there are 3 ranges of combat. There's green, there's red, and there's green. If I'm so far away from you where you can't touch me, I'm good.
Yeah.
And there's a red zone where you can make good contact on me and you can get good power through that. That's fucking dangerous.
Really extend, really put their hand through your jaw.
And then there's the next layer of that is where I get tight to your body and I feel pretty comfortable. It's like half guard, right?
Yeah.
There's a green layer, a red layer, and a green layer. If I'm so far away, like a good knee shield, I have good frames, I feel very comfortable. There's that middle ground where I kind of have this weak underhook and I'm kind of flat. Well, that kind of sucks. Or I'm in on you tight.
Now you've got all these sort of
that's right.
weapons options available to you where you can go laterally.
Yeah. So that's why I think that it's that's how I've always looked at combat. It's like it's distance management. The closer I am to you, the more comfortable I am, which is why grappling makes so much sense for someone who's like a lot weaker. Because I can attach myself to your body and kind of go wherever you go and stay safe
instead of having to worry about you.
Yeah, you ever watch someone who
clipping me?
Yeah, you ever watch someone who gets assaulted?
Yeah, just like world star level, like stomped out.
Yeah, did you ever see them like clinch on and hold on to them? Even though they don't know what they're doing, they actually look safe.
Yeah. I mean, if I can get my head to your chest, the likelihood that you're gonna put your fist through my face is a hell of a lot lower.
So now that we're looking at a very primitive level, you're looking at grappling at a primitive level. Let's look at it at a technical level now. So why would you want to learn that? Because you're able to manage that distance really well. I can stay away from when I want to with my guards and my how do I either technically standing up, having good long distance range guards and keeping proximity between me and you strong, or I close that distance and get strong again.
Yeah,
I manage that distance.
Deep half, like deep underhook, whatever the case may be, to where it's now
right, or close guard with a clinch on the head. Right. If you ask me like, hey,
shoulder clamp,
what's a guard? What's a guard you would play in like a defense tactic? Close guard with literally a clinch on your head.
Yeah, and then just break the posture.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a cross collar grip. I don't have a sleeve grip, but I'm certainly going to clinch on your head, like literally not even your neck. I'm going to clinch in almost like your crown of your head and keep my elbows in tight. Maybe by the back of your neck, that's fine too. But like I would clinch on you, or I would underhook you, double unders. I would keep you tight. I would constantly like just keep knee pulling and keeping you tight, so that if you hit me, it's going to hurt, but it's not going to knock me the hell out.
I was going to say, it's not going to sting you to where you're sitting there like, what planet am I on? And then now I'm in trouble.
And then go watch someone else who got taken down and they're in that closed guard scenario, so to speak. I mean, they're like this and they're just getting wailed on and they don't know what the hell they're doing. They get knocked out. But it's just, and there is some truth to like, and then you'll have the MMA guy jump in and he'll say, well, you know, like a jiu-jitsu guy is like the black belt is like, then he gets punched, becomes a brown belt, punch again, becomes a purple belt. There's some truth to that.
Yeah.
I agree. You're right. You're right. Which is why sport jiu-jitsu is different than MMA. Now, you want to teach it to the mass public. MMA is too brutal.
Yeah.
It's hard.
No one's going to do that.
That's right. So we say, oh, what is the middle ground here? How do I teach you good technical things to get you safe and feeling confident and feeling like you can handle a situation? Sport jiu-jitsu. It's the middle ground that works. It's the way for me to teach you how to properly defend yourself with good techniques, how to have hard sparring rounds against someone who's trying to really hurt you, and be confident in those scenarios. And you become that. You know, Ryan Hall's video, I don't know if you've ever seen the Ryan Hall pizza video.
Mm-mm.
I gotta watch it after this. See, this is what would happen. This would help to have this.
Fucked up.
So so this is before he did MMA.
Okay.
So that's that. So he was just a sport jiu-jitsu guy, and then some guy in a pizzeria like started a fight with him, and he like took his back and like choked him out or whatever, and he just, or I think he like calmed the situation a couple of times. But what's funny is like many years later, I think the guy apologized for being an asshole or whatever.
Yeah.
But point was that like, you know, Ryan Hall was just confident because he's done so much hard sparring and so much good technique that he's used to a confrontation.
Yeah, it's not foreign.
No.
It's like, okay, now I can operate from here.
That's right.
But
It's exposure. So it's immersing yourself in that culture to feel like, okay, this is comfortable. And you could do that in MMA. Like if you say, hey, I'm gonna train MMA for the next 5 years. Yeah, you'll probably get good in a street fight too. But it's just that training, like preparing for MMA fights and doing that, it's really rough on you.
Yeah.
That's all.
Brain damage.
It's
Beats the shit out of your body.
It's just rough. That's all. I mean, I like watching. So hey, this is from someone who likes watching it.
Yeah.
Well, I watch all day long. Training, I won't. I just don't. I just care about I really care about my brain.
Yeah.
I don't. You
don't want CTE?
Not really. That's why I don't know. Would I train MMA fighter? Sure.
Yeah.
Do I like MMA? Hell yeah. Do I want to do it or have my students do it? Not particularly.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I'd rather be more of the sport jiu-jitsu. It's because I can do, you know, like your sister can do it. You know, the guy down the block can do it.
Yeah.
And he can do it for a long time and feel comfortable with it and learn some real skill and not really have to, you know, is he going to get beat up a little bit? Yes. I mean, anything you do, you're going to get beat up. But like, he's not going to get permanent brain damage. He's not going to get CTE.
Yeah, he's not getting separated from his consciousness.
Yeah, that's.
Or even, I mean, it doesn't even have to be separated from your consciousness. I mean, there's all those subconcussive blows that, I mean, they do just as much damage. I mean, like
Yeah,
even if you're not getting rocked.
It's just really rough on you. That's all.
We got to get the fuck out of here, sir.
Yeah, we do.
It's been a while. Anyways, you want to plug Odyssey for us?
Yeah. So at Odyssey Jiu-Jitsu is our Instagram. You can follow us there. You can also follow me at Greg Sirico on Instagram as well. So our website is odysseybjj.com. We're in West Midtown. So come by, take a class, come say hi to Dallas. I'll put you with him. That'll be fun.
Come train, motherfuckers.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Hey, very welcome.
I appreciate you.